The Plainville Board of Education, preparing students for success in a changing global society.
Sweet times of the year where we honor our retirees and for their amazing number of years of service and high quality service to the District of Plainville. So we have numerous staff throughout our district that are going to be honored this evening. So I'm going to call up their respective principals or folks that are going to speak on their behalf. And then we'd like to present you, the board chair and I would like to present you with our token of our appreciation. And you're more than welcome to say a few words if you'd like. So we will begin. I'm going to go a little out of order because I don't see our high school retiree here yet or our high school principal. So we'll do them at the end. I think for now I would like to start with our middle school honorees, and I'd like to invite Matthew Guarino up to speak to our two folks, more than two folks, but you're going to speak to two and Vicky's going to speak to two. So I'll let you take it away. Sure. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Brummer. Thank you, Board of Ed, for giving me the opportunity to talk about the wonderful people that we have had working at the middle school of Plainville. And again, I'm going to talk about two of the retirees from the middle school, and Vicki Krasinski, the Director of Pupil Services, will talk about some of the others as well. So first, I'd like to be able to say a few words, and I'm honored to do so, about Sophie Morse. Sophie is a rare gem. She has devoted the last 25 years of her life to some of the neediest children in Plainville. She began working as a one-on-one para at Taflon with a student and then continued with that student at the middle school. And when that child transitioned to the high school, Sophie stayed on at MSP working with students who needed tutoring in math. And together with her fellow tutor, Sophie created the roots of our SRBI, our RTI program for students with reading needs. They were really on their own and developed that program for those students, getting them ready for the CMTs and to be successful in class. Soon after, Sophie moved over to support our at-risk readers from math to reading in our literacy SRBI program. Before you know it, 25 years have passed, and Sophie has been one of the most dedicated people I know. She gives 100% of her focus and understanding to a whole generation of Plainville children. Again, helping some of the children who have struggled the most in school to be happy and successful. She has unending patience and care for these children, and it really has shown. Sophie especially loved reading to the children, and because of this, struggling readers have been able to enjoy and learn from novels written at or above their grade level that they would not have benefited from without her. And I'm sure that there are many, many children that will remember Sophie for the rest of their lives as the caring, patient adult who supported them in their time of need. Sophie has certainly earned this time to begin to devote her time to herself and her family. And she has many fascinating trips planned in the future with her husband Lenny. I've heard tell of cruising the Adriatic, a trip to Hawaii, and maybe even a trip to Russia. Yeah, that sounds wonderful. And we wish her the very best, and she will be dearly missed at MSP and pretty much impossible to replace. So come on up, Sophie.
I wasn't prepared for this, but I should say something. It was a lot of fun, and 25 years just went like that. And I think it's because I like working with the kids. So, happy retirement to everybody else.
Okay, I am so very privileged to know and to speak about our next retiree. I have the great honor to speak about him. I am awestruck whenever I think about Gary Fell. 49 years as a teacher in Plainville. That is an inspiration, and what tireless devotion. That's just incredible. I think that deserves applause before we even get started. Gary was born in Plattsburgh, New York in 1947. And even though his parents lived in Connecticut, it was still a time, way back then, when an expectant mother might go back home to be with their family for the birth of a child. After graduating from Southington High School, Gary graduated from college with a degree in elementary education and later completed a master's degree in school counseling. I have known Gary for the past 11 years during my time at MSP. At that time, he had already worked longer as a teacher than most folks do. You might think at that point he would have been winding down, just putting in the time, but nothing could be further from the truth. Gary has never stopped giving his all to the students of Plainville. In the last 10 years alone, Gary has played a key role in twice updating the science curriculum and making major shifts in the subject matter and the methods in which he taught. Things have changed quite a bit though since Gary started. First of all, he spent most of his first year teaching grade 4 at Toflon before he had even graduated from college. So you could do that in those days. I just realized too, Gary, that we started 4th grade at the same time. Only I was in 4th grade. I could have been my teacher. Same year. He did this even before he had graduated from college, Central Connecticut State College, that is, before it was a university. Not so far back as when it was called New Britain Teachers College, though. Gary was telling me today that he was hired when Plainville called over to the college looking for a 4th grade teacher in November. They recommended Gary, who was in his senior year at that time, and Plainville hired him sight unseen, and he started in the next couple of days, if I'm not mistaken. This was during the height of the Vietnam War era, and Gary said that he ended up with both a student and a teacher deferment at the same time, because he was both. So that's pretty incredible. Gary also mentioned that when he started teaching, he used to put out an ashtray for the parents and for yourself during parent-teacher conferences. Times certainly have changed, and Gary grew and adapted his teaching, keeping up with or surpassing the very best for nearly half a century. Gary continued at Toflon Elementary teaching 4th grade and then mostly 6th grade until the middle school was opened, and he moved with the 6th graders in 1992 to MSP. Since then, he has taught science to a generation of Plainville children, including 2 of my own, who also remember his room very fondly. If you've ever been in there, he's going to need a tractor trailer to load out all that stuff he's got in there. Interesting books and action figures, and it's just wonderful. Certainly, Gary has earned time to do some of the other things he loves, spending time with his wife Jen, visiting his 4 and soon-to-be 5 grandchildren, and spending time outdoors. He's an avid hunter, deer and turkey, and enjoys freshwater fishing. Gary and his wife also have plans to travel this great country in an RV in the years to come. Sounds very jealous. I wish with all my heart another half century of time well spent on living to the fullest, Gary. Thank you for all you have given and done for the community of Plainville.
Just want to make sure the taxidermy items in your room are going with you.
Raccoon will be gone.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you very much. It's been a fantastic time. I enjoyed working in town of Plainville, and especially with the people at the middle school. It's unbelievable staff. And thanks to Mr. Borrino over here. Yes. Thank you again.
All right, I would now like to ask Vicki Drzezinski to come up and do our middle school special education teachers.
So today I have not only the 2 special education teachers, but 4 special education staff members to honor today. So it's a pretty sad day for our department. We have going to miss a significant amount of expertise in our department and are looking forward to enjoying their retirement together as we sort of dream about our own. So the first person I really would like to honor is Lori Boland. Lori has worked as a paraprofessional at Taflon for over 18 years. During that time, she has helped many students with disabilities to fully participate in all aspects of life at Taflon School, from supporting academics to personal care. Lori has done it all to ensure that her students are happy and are learning. She told me that knowing that the children are happy and loving school has been the best part of her job. So while we are officially recognizing her retirement, she has said she has no intention of really taking it easy. She's going to be working with her husband, Tom, to run the business, Holtz Precision, and then she will be also welcoming her first grandchild in November. I've also convinced her to stay on our substitute paraprofessional list, so we're hoping that we will continue to see her at times throughout the next few years, and we are really looking forward to hearing about her exciting adventures. So best wishes to you, Lori.
I don't need the microphone because I have a big mouth. I just want to say Plainville was a phenomenal place to work. Everybody was amazing, supportive, and I'm not going too far because I am going to volunteer and I will sell. I'm not going to be far.
So we also have 3 special education teachers. And I did want to thank them all really for training at least 3 directors that I know, 2 of which are here today. So for myself, I know that Maureen also is director, so you've outlasted some amazing people and taught us really how to lead a group of people and made it so easy in the work that you've done. So thank you all so much. First, I'd like to honor Bernadette Knowles. Bernie has spent her career supporting the needs of our youngest students with special needs at Linden Street School. As important as her support and caring for students has been, she has also been an amazing support to families, as in many cases, she might be the first representative of our school to kind of take that journey with families and understanding their child's disability. She's an amazing caregiver to our Linden Street Special Education team and the teachers of the building. And is one of the most diligent and hardworking teachers that I've ever worked with. She's had some very interesting roles. In the last couple of years, we've had different sort of teams or groups to work together. Most recently, they have been sort of the Get It Done Club, I call it, and they had very unique jobs such as organizing the lost and found, the lockers that have the extra clothes have all been sorted by size and season. They have also made some amazing, beautiful visuals to be in the bathrooms on how to wash your hands, how to use the microwave, and how to clean the microwave when you're done with your meal. And so it's been a really sort of exciting and fun, who are really just committed to the overall community of the Linden Street School. And so we really have been so grateful for her support. So I know that she is really looking forward to spending time with her husband Rick and her daughters Lindsay and Brittany, and we're going to miss you so desperately. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Plainville is the place to be. You have been my family for many, many years. I've had many friends here, families. I love the children. That's what I'm going to miss the most. I'm definitely going to come back and visit, so I'm not going to be scarce. I will be here. I've had many supportive teachers and the principals, Becky and Marie. I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, and I'll miss everyone.
So for our last two teachers, it's really hard to speak of either of them separately, because in my mind, Barb and Carol go together, Barbara Fawcett and Carol Von Aiken. Again, they have trained us all incredibly well. Leanne Gemeindl and I spoke regularly about these two ladies because they were really the ones who helped us to transition into Plainville. 20 years ago for me, and I believe 15 years ago for Leanne. And so their support has also been amazing, and really like to think of them, and not just for us, but for all staff, students, as the welcoming committee. And thank you, ladies, so much for that. So I'll start first with Barbara Fawcett. So Barbara Fawcett is currently working as our reading specialist, where she has really committed the last 10 years to direct reading support for children, really knowing diagnostically and truly understanding what it means to be a reader in the middle school. And so we really do appreciate the work that she's done. Her kindness and true respect and understanding. She's also worked most recently as our English language learner coordinator, I think for terms, a good term, and has really helped to build a culture of inclusion and support for our kids. I know that she is continuing to enjoy time with her granddaughters, Madeline and Clara, as well as her sons, Jeff and Kevin. And so thank you so much for all of your time and commitment.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. The 30 years here in Plainville have just been awesome. The people, the staff and teachers and my friends at the middle school of Plainville are just the best. And it's been a great experience, but I am looking forward to some R&R, but I will come back to visit. And I may ask Maureen to put my name on the sub list. So, so thank you very much.
So last but certainly not least, I would like to honor Carol Von Aiken. Carol has a sense of passion about working with kids, but as Leanne and I described it, sort of that no-nonsense motherly way about her. Leanne Gemeindl shared something that she had shared at the other retirement party. A common phrase from Carol might go something like, "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry your dog died, but you still need to do your homework." "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry that you didn't have your gym clothes, but I'm not your mother, and so I don't know what to tell you." All with a big smile on her face and a sense that the children really know and believe that she is there for them on every level and really fostering their independence. So again, Carol, thank you so much for your time and commitment, and I hope that you enjoy your time with your husband Kurt and your kids Chris and Allie.
Thank you again. As everyone said, Plainville is a wonderful place to teach. It was always one of my life's dreams to be a teacher, so thank you for letting me fulfill that here in town. But I'll be back to visit as well. I don't know if I'll be on the sub list, but it is a great place to be. So again, thank you.
To bring up Mr. Roberto Medic to honor our high school retirees.
Good evening. We have two retirees, one who was unable to attend tonight, Deb Gursky, who is one of our office professionals for the assistant principals. Deb is an institution at Plainville High School. When I announced her retirement to the faculty, because she won't come to the faculty meeting, there was an audible gasp. And the only thing I can attribute to is like when Derek Jeter officially announced his retirement as well. Deb is one of the individuals in our school community who cares deeply for students and for the faculty and staff, and makes it a point to remember everybody's name, everybody's child's name, birth dates. She's the face of our mentorship program, helping bring the mentors to their mentees and always finding space for them and providing them an opportunity to form relationships. She's going to probably kill me for talking about her because she's a very humble person, but she'll be greatly missed by our entire faculty and staff and student body. So quick round of applause for Deb, even though she's not here this evening. We do have one teacher who's retiring this evening, Mrs. Gervasio, so I'm going to have Pam come up and stand next to me, because she knows I don't like the spotlight on myself. So one thing that I can appreciate of Pam very much is her self-deprecating humor. For example, when she started off our faculty meeting by letting us all know that she graduated 9th in her class at Southington High School, and somehow has still been in high school 37 years later. But nonetheless, what Pam has taught me is a couple of things. First, it's completely appropriate to bring your passions and your personal life to the classroom. For example, on Wednesday, it's Meow Place? Yes, which is Cat Wednesday in Spanish translation. Pam is the only person in my career that I've ever gone in to do an observation on and have somehow brought cat videos into the fold and made it educationally appropriate and fun. Besides her love for cats, her true love is for the students at this high school. And what Pam has taught me in the past 2 years as the principal is that relationships with students and staff are the most meaningful and impactful that you can form. Pam served as a mentor, a role model, a coach to young teachers, has guided many of us, has often offered myself advice and perspective from herself, sometimes unsolicited, but nonetheless appreciated. Pam has led our reaccreditation effort in 2009, putting the school first, and has been a consummate professional both in and out of the classroom. But going back to the relationship piece, Pam actually spoke at our faculty meeting more about the relationships with other people than her experience. And what that taught us is that in the 37 years she's been an educator, between 20 in Southington and 17 here, that the day in, day out role that you work with people, taking time to get to know them and forming a bond with them, knowing that you can support one another, is truly what being an educator is about from a professional standpoint. And in turn, Pam does the same with our students. We could have gone on and on. We had so many students send back positive messages, emails, congratulatory comments for Pam. We'd still be there today if we read them all. And again, that serves as a model and an example of what it means to be an educator. Pam always went above and beyond for the students, whether it meant providing them money for lunch, buying them breakfast, helping them with a prom ticket, helping tutor them in a subject outside Spanish. She always put the kids first. So we're greatly going to miss Pam. And what I can say is that when we hire teachers, I always now look at our new teachers to say, well, I want my children to have this person. And Pam, 17 years ago, I would have been a sophomore in high school. I would love to have her. Well, congratulations on the retirement. We hope you enjoy Florida. And she's on the sub list too. So.
Yes, I am. Yes, I think everyone has pretty well said it, but it's been my profound pleasure to serve this community, work with my colleagues, and most importantly, the students. They're it. Thank you so much.
Last but certainly not least, we have Principal Paula Eschew with an honoree from Linden Street School.
All right, I had the pleasure of speaking at Bernie's retirement party from Linden, and now I get the pleasure of speaking on Denise's behalf. And I don't know all there is to know about Denise, but I know a few things that I will share in this acrostic poem, because, you know, I am elementary, and so it's an acrostic poem. D. D is for driving fast and loving NASCAR, watching, going to, and perhaps the eye candy in the drivers. I don't know. E is for enjoying being outdoors. Denise loves to do things like camp, kayak, and ride horses. She owns a couple kayaks. She let one out to me once, and at least one horse, so she is in the fresh air and sunshine often. N is for new trucks.
Like a kid in a candy store, Denise was so excited when she got her new truck. She worked hard for it, and she should enjoy that fresh truck smell. And she does mowing and other work to support her habits. I is for independent. Denise is an independent woman. However, spending time with her friends and family is important to her. People most important to her are her sisters, and she has a twin, Michael, and Michael's mother. S is for safe and school. Denise worked in the elementary school for a long time. She enjoyed the children and would often help us by taking on a junior custodian, a scholar who may be struggling with behavior yet would work to spend time with her. She also wanted all children to be safe. If a child needed a reminder as to why we clean up or were careful, she would always say yes to supervising, as he or she made amends by cleaning or practicing being careful. E is for empathetic. Denise does have a big heart once you get to know her. While at work, she's very all business, going about her day and doing her job. Yet, if a staff member needs something or a child, Denise always wants to be helpful. We wish Denise all the best, and I believe she's starting her retirement with the wanderlust of some of the other retirees. She's going on an extended trip in South Carolina, along with her horse, to see the countryside. Happy retirement, happiness, and health to you.
Say thank you very much. I enjoyed working for the school system for 33 years. I'm going to miss everybody. I'm going to miss the children. But it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed everybody. Thank you very much.
Quick funny story about Denise. Before we had our safety drills down solid, Denise was made aware of someone that was not following our check-in procedures at Linden Street School, and doing what she knew best, she took her broom and started chasing that person. They turned out to be a police officer undercover, but that's okay. We know we're in good hands with Denise. So that concludes our honoring our retirees this evening. I'd like to invite our retirees over to our photo area for a group photo, and then we have a nice reception set up for you. And once again, our sincerest thanks for your service. And for those of you that have still not quite committed to being substitutes next year, just let me know. I'm always available. Thank you once again.
All right, good evening, everyone. We're going to start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Nate, would you lead us, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and welcome, everyone. Before we start the regular meeting, the board just wants to take a minute to acknowledge that about a week ago, a PHS graduate, Miss Danielle Wells, passed away tragically at the PHS alumni fields. The school district has reached out to her family, and they have been very appreciative of our efforts. So we would just like to offer a moment of silence to honor Ms. Wells' untimely passing. Okay, thank you.
Good job, thanks.
All right, next we're going to just turn it over to Dr. Brummett for some special presentations.
Thank you. Give me 1 second while I move to the podium again. Okay, I would like to start off our meeting today, our recognition portion, by our everyday hero for the month of June, and that is John Dara from our technology department. He was nominated by Lynn Davis. And here's what she said about John Dara. I would like to take this opportunity to nominate Plainville Community Schools computer technician John Dara for the Everyday Hero Award. Over the years, John has served a tremendous resource for all aspects of technology support. In every instance that I've encountered the need for assistance with the technology matter, John has been the consummate professional, courteous, diligent, responsive, and professional, and my sentiments are echoed by many colleagues over the years who have had the pleasure of working with John. Last year, I had the opportunity to work closely with John, helping him to design and implement a new school district website system. I had no idea of the enormity of the project, and I can vouch for her on that, as we began the initial planning for the new website, but quickly came to realize that it was massive. It would entail countless hours of research, design, communication, coordination, planning, content organization, and much more. From the onset of the project through implementation, staff training, and post-implementation support, John has been nothing short of amazing. Throughout the entire website update process, he demonstrated leadership, innovation, expertise, creativity, patience, and exceptional project management skills. And he did it all with a very positive attitude, calm demeanor, and a smile. John made what could have been a very stressful and overwhelming project experience a very pleasant and exciting one. John continues to stand out as an exceptional colleague for many reasons. He makes Plainville Community Schools a better place in sharing his talents, resources, and positive patience with our entire educational community each day in his role as computer technician in the technology department. I believe that John is the perfect example of an everyday hero, and I couldn't agree more because the project was massive and he did a wonderful job with it. Come on up, John. Tonight we have a rather special presentation. About 10 years ago, a beloved special education director from Granby Public Schools passed away at a very young age. The Farmington Valley directors that I belonged to at that time, and now Vicki Trzynski belongs to, decided to set up an award in Tom's memory by nominating and honoring someone every year who has excelled in his or her work as a special education provider. Nominees for this award can come from any district in the Farmington Valley, that's about 8 towns. And this year, I was exceptionally pleased to learn that a Plainville educator was chosen. I would like to invite Vicki Trzynski to the podium to make this very special announcement and presentation.
Well, thank you for letting me talk again. Tonight I am very pleased to honor Suzanne Schweitzer, who is our school psychologist, and also Justine Misseri, who's the other school psychologist at the middle school, who had nominated her for this award. Really what we believe is that this award represents the commitment and dedication to all staff who really work on behalf of kids with special needs. But specifically to Suzanne's nomination, we were asked to report what Suzanne's work does to reflect high expectations, leadership, and positive outcomes for students. So I'm going to share a little bit of the nomination form that was completed by Justine. Suzanne worked as a school psychologist for 21 years. In her time, she has helped countless families, students, and staff with a number of exceptional needs. Her competencies in the field are astonishing. The breadth of knowledge that she maintains never ceases to amaze those around her. Suzanne demonstrates her high levels of knowledge in the area of student assessment, understanding disabilities, community services, school accommodations, therapeutic techniques, etc. In regards to high expectations, Suzanne holds herself and our educational systems to the highest of standards. Suzanne, in the past, has expressed that one's work or performance is a reflection of oneself. She not only shares that thought with others, but lives that mindset as well. In regards to her own work, Suzanne spends countless hours outside of the school day writing psychological reports that are professional, informative, helpful, and defendable. She will stay after school to assist families, complete developmental histories, escort students in crisis to the hospital, and do whatever is needed to meet their needs. In just one meeting with Suzanne, it is apparent that at the forefront of her mind is the well-being of others. She has a genuine way of caring for anyone who crosses her path. One staff once said, "I told Suzanne something one time, and months later, she remembered what I had told her and asked me about it. I was shocked that she genuinely cared and remembered." Suzanne's compassion for students with significant needs has led her to home visits, hospital visits, community outreach, parent guidance, and more. Her compassion and her passion combined help all students who come across their path to get services they need to succeed. Suzanne leads not only with her compelling, passionate, heartfelt personality, but with her extensive knowledge. She educates families, students, and colleagues on a daily basis. Suzanne educates families from elementary through the middle school levels about their child's strengths and weaknesses, services that are available, understandings of disabilities, and prognosis in different situations. She has an effortless way of delivering often difficult news to families in a way that breeds trust and understanding. She helps students gain personal awareness and metacognitive skills, increasing their own understanding of how they think, feel, and learn. In the school, Suzanne keeps staff aware of how they can assist particular students, the student body as a whole, and one another. Suzanne's support goes further than supporting those involved in our special populations. As a veteran herself, she holds a leadership role in developing our school's annual Veterans Day programs. With Suzanne's input, the program has grown to include veteran speeches, family speeches, brunch, and staff acknowledgments. It also includes our school chorus and band. Each year, veterans leave our school's program and comment on how well done and honorable the program is. In order to achieve such strong and positive student outcomes, there needs to be a strong community. Suzanne builds this sense of community not just in the middle school setting, but also the elementary school setting and the community in general. Suzanne brings staff together through different events, through personal connections, and through her overall altruistic demeanor. She brings families into our school community, increasing our homeschool collaboration bonds, which are essential for student success. Suzanne incorporates community supports whenever possible to assist families with how they can support their child outside of the school setting. When asked about Suzanne, several of our teachers gave this information. She's been instrumental in working with parents and guardians and families on supporting them with questions and concerns about our most involved and neediest of students. She provides a calm, compassionate approach for both student and family. She naturally knows how to communicate such information to families by advocating for students and providing support to these conversations that can be very uncomfortable and difficult to digest. She continues to consult on a regular basis with special education case managers to provide an understanding of her evaluations and how to better support these students. Another teacher wrote, "When I think of Suzanne, many words come to mind. Knowledgeable, approachable, invested, professional, genuine, compassionate, dedicated, and altruistic are just a few." While she is quiet in her approach, her leadership qualities are those that allow others to feel comfortable working with her and seeking her advice and opinions. Because of all of this information, she was one of a number of nominees from the 8 districts and was chosen this year. And so I want to have us all join in congratulating Suzanne on this wonderful award. Part of the award is that Suzanne's name has been added to the plaque that gets sort of travels from school district to school district. So we will house it for a year Mr. Greeno has offered to put it in the conference room where Suzanne spends a good chunk of her time, so that we can admire it for the year, and then we will pass it on to the next person. We also have it individually.
Thank you, Ms. Straczynski, Dr. Brummett, Board of Education members. This is pretty overwhelming, and it was such a surprise. I want to say thank you to the Farmington Valley Special Ed Directors for bestowing this amazing honor on me, and thank you to my own family for their endless support. Here tonight is my husband, David, who's the wind beneath my wings, and my sweet daughter, Hannah, who just finished her junior year in high school. Not able to be present are my beautiful daughters, Danielle and Alea, who are working in graduate school and working and in graduate school, respectively. And my brave son, Charles, who is with the United States Army right now, proudly serving in Iraq. I want to say thank you to my MSP family, led by Principal Matt Garino and Assistant Principal Amy Roberts, for nominating me. And an extra special thank you goes to my MSP psych sister, Justine Mazzeri, who led the nomination and now has provided me with the lifelong challenge to live up to this noble description that she's given me. I want to thank all Plainville Community School family, because we really are all a family. The regular and special ed teachers, nurses, secretaries, specialist paras, support staff, and custodians. I am proud to work alongside people who are so devoted to educating and supporting our Plainville children. Thomas D. Corletto, the former Granby Special Ed Director, who this award is named after, was described as a visionary and an advocate for the marginalized student. I cannot think of a time in America's history where these skills are more in need. Mental health disorders are most common health issues facing our American school children today. 1 in 5 kids has a mental health or learning disorder, and 80% of chronic mental disorders start in childhood. That equates to 17.1 million young people who have a diagnosable psychiatric disorder. If these conditions are identified early on, the better the outcome and the happier and more successful later on for these children. We in the school system are really on the front lines to identify and support these at-risk children and their families. Plainville has done an amazing job. They're providing mental health support and most recently developing a partnership with Wheeler Clinic. These families are our children and families, and education is the key, and schools are positioned to be the prime driver behind improving mental health for America's children. The challenge remains that often as a school, we must still rely on outside referrals to outside agencies, which are really completely overwhelmed. My hope is that national and state policymakers can take a look at the mental health needs for our students and increase the number of resources in our schools. One only has to put on the news to know that as a nation, we must do better for our precious resource, our children, and we must do it now. Thank you again for this award. I am very humbled and honored to carry Thomas D. Corletto's torch of light and to follow his path of advocacy for children with special needs. I cannot imagine a more worthy cause than having a very small part in improving the lives of children and their families. That is my passion. Thank you everyone for the opportunity to serve and for the recognition in doing so. Thank you very much.
here as her nominator. Well, this is certainly a night of many, many celebrations, and thank you so much, Suzanne, for your words. It ties in beautifully to our presentation later this evening on school climate and the importance of meeting the children's needs across all possible areas. It is my pleasure to follow tradition at every June board meeting where we present the Teacher of the Year to the Board of Education. The Teacher of the Year is a teacher-run process. The committee is typically made up of former Teachers of the Year, and each year nominations are received by the committee, and those nominated must go through an extensive application process. I would like to invite up our 2017-18 Teacher of the Year, Melissa Patterson, to the podium to introduce this year's worthy recipient. Come on up. And her final act as Teacher of the Year.
Thank you. Good evening. It's very exciting for me to be up here introducing our 2018-2019 Plainville Teacher of the Year. Not only is Melissa Dodenhoff my Linden colleague, she is also my friend. Melissa has been teaching at Linden Street School for 15 years. Over the years, she has had many former students and many former teachers come back to volunteer in her second grade classroom. This is a true reflection of her positive impact. Melissa goes above and beyond to help others. She is a familiar face at school-wide events and community events. She's the PTO liaison. She volunteers at bingo night, family fall fest, holiday breakfasts, the 5th grade celebration, the kiddathlon, and the DARE graduation, to name a few. She volunteered at both fun runs held this past school year on Saturday mornings. She is also a volunteer coach for the elementary unified sports team. She leads the school social committee and helps to ensure that all teachers and staff members feel welcome, appreciated, and valued. Melissa organizes Linden's Relay for Life team each year. Melissa embodies what it means to be a team player. I tell her that all the time. Melissa believes an integral aspect to teaching is developing a connection with the families. She establishes a safe and welcoming environment not only for her second grade students, but also for their families. She sees beyond her classroom walls and knows that a child's educational journey must include parental involvement. Her second grade students say that Miss D is funny and extremely caring. One said she takes the time to talk to me even when she's very busy. Another said she helps me with my math, breaks it down step by step so that I can understand. And a third said she lets us listen to music and she lets me chew gum. I was like, ooh, that's fun. Colleagues say that Melissa has an excellent rapport with her students, always making connections with every individual student early on in the school year. They say that Melissa's classroom is very welcoming and a place where her students feel immediately comfortable. If you entered her classroom, you would notice that right away. I can't think of anyone more deserving to represent Plainville as the 2018-2019 Teacher of the Year. It's my pleasure to introduce Melissa Dodenhoff.
Thank you, Melissa, for the kind words and the introduction. to Dr. Bromett, administrators, Principal Ashew, members of the Board of Education, colleagues, my dad, and friends. I want to extend my sincere gratitude for selecting me as the 2018-2019 Teacher of the Year. It's a very emotional, overwhelming, and surreal experience. Oops. And definitely one that I will forever treasure and appreciate. I'm not somebody who really likes the center of attention. This is not so much my cup of tea. But I didn't choose this profession for accolades or recognition, but rather I chose it because I wanted to inspire a love of learning in young children. I wanted to lead their minds to reach their full potential, to believe in themselves, and just to make their dreams and their hopes a reality. I feel very fortunate to learn from, teach with, and work alongside you and everybody else part of the Plainville Community Schools. Together, we create a safe and positive learning environment where all children can excel, and we celebrate each unique learner's successes and achievements on a daily basis. This award means a lot, but what touches me most is seeing the students that I taught in second grade come back year after year. Maddie is actually here. And they sometimes volunteer hours are needed for high school, but kids who are in high school, college, and even beyond now, come back just to say hi. They come back to share their life stories and experiences, and that reminds me why I went into teaching. Their achievements, their accomplishments inspire me. They remind me why I became a teacher, and they enhance my passion for teaching on a daily basis. This is why I believe teaching is the most rewarding and fulfilling profession there is. Thanks again for this award. It's an honor, and words cannot accurately capture and convey my feelings and emotions at this time. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
I have a quick story about getting the Teacher of the Year award this year. So we show up at Linden with our flowers and our balloons, sort of like the Publishers Clearinghouse giveaway. Only, unfortunately, not $1 million, but, you know. And as we come into our classroom, one of the kids says to me, "Teacher of the Year, wow, are other teachers going to be mad about this?" I love second graders, they're so cute. Anyway, it's well-deserved honor. And speaking of well-deserved honors, it's hard to go to any spring awards ceremony this year without hearing Nate's name. He was honored at our last board meeting for achieving the highest academic honor of valedictorian. I went to a sports banquet last week in which he received numerous honors and recently a scholarship at our Rotary Scholarship Dinner. And I'm sure I'll hear his name again on Thursday evening at the Night of Excellence. I have really appreciated Nate's willingness to speak up at board meetings about issues that he felt strongly about, in addition to providing us with updates about PHS. Later this evening, during his report, he will introduce his successors to the Board of Education, and I've spoke with them both briefly tonight. I think they're going to be wonderful successors. So Nate, please accept our appreciation for your service and the amazing legacy that you leave behind at PHS. Thank you very much.
I guess I should start to get comfortable talking in front of people, considering this is a lot less than there are going to be next Wednesday. But I just want to thank everybody that I've interacted with along the way. Coming to the board meetings, a lot of people view it as like, oh, you do that, and I don't even mind it. yeah, it's nice hearing about everything that's going on from the elementary school up through PHS and all the behind-the-scenes stuff that a lot of students don't get to look at. And I just want to thank all the administrators, teachers, and students that I've interacted with for the past 13 years in Plainville schools. And I want to know that you guys are going to be missed. Thanks.
And believe it or not, that concludes our awards for this evening.
Okay, next we have approval of minutes. Can I get a motion for A?
Madam Chairman, I request that we approve the minutes of the May 14, 2018 regular business meeting of the Plainville Board of Education.
Second. First and a second, any additions or corrections? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Now B.
Madam Chairman, I request we approve the minutes of the board's special executive session meeting on May 20th, 2018.
Second. First and a second, any additions or corrections? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, next we have the citizen comment portion of our meeting. If you'd like to speak to the Board of Education, you just go up to the podium and state your name and address, please. Anyone? Mr. Kislick, come on up.
John Kislick, 65 Forest Hill Avenue. You're probably all nervous. Why is Kislick here again?
No, we're happy to see you.
Okay. Well, the thing is, I haven't been here in a while, and you're going to have 2 months off. So I wanted you to know that I'm still in town, I'm still alive. The main reason I'm here is I want to make a few comments on superintendent's evaluation that you're going to be doing in executive session tonight. And I think you should hear something from ordinary people, from the public, when you're going to be making this important decision. What I want to say is that at a recent town council meeting that was pretty rough on the Board of Education, Superintendent Roman handled this thing pretty good. She did a good job. You know, she stayed calm, and it was tough. And she also has the ability, her and Assistant Superintendent LePage, to answer the front door when the bell rings before it gets to you. And I know personally that they do that, and they do a good job. I know with her academia, training, you know, her experience handling different situations and being able to deal with some of us senior citizens and different tough issues in budget time. I think she does a really good job, and Assistant Superintendent LePage. So I just wanted to put in a few words in her favor for when you go to her evaluation tonight. Thank you. I'm not going to be staying for your meeting. You people have meetings that are way too long for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kisler. Anybody else? Going once? Going twice? All right, thank you. Now our council liaison, Mrs. Puglisi.
Good evening, Kathy Puglisi, 50 West Broad Street. I haven't been here in a while, unfortunately. There have been a number of conflicts with my schedule, with budget work sessions, and a variety of other commitments. But I certainly am happy to be here at your last meeting of this school year. I want to wish everybody a wonderful summer, and hopefully you'll get to travel and do some things that are relaxing and interesting, and that your summer is fulfilled with a lot of things that most people try to accomplish during their time off. I do also want to mention, before I get going into my report, John Deere was acknowledged tonight he's already left, for an award that he performed a wonderful project through the IT department. And the reason I am congratulating him and also letting you know is that I recently had to get some help with the IT department. And John was the one who helped me. It wasn't a big deal. The keyboard on my iPad started to fail, and we were trying to troubleshoot it and decide, well, is it fixable or is it going to be just, sorry, it's all gone. But he took the time to meet with me. We looked at what the problem was. We both concluded it was time for the 8-year-old keyboard to say goodbye. But I do want to congratulate him in his absence. He's not here, but he's a wonderful, wonderful young man. He was very patient, listened to my story, and I want to thank him for doing that. So congratulations to him on his award tonight. On to some of my things from the town council. I haven't been here in a while. I have a couple of meetings to share with you. We have some things going on that are of interest to people in the town, and I'll truncate them because I could be up here for a very long time if I went into detail. Recently we had a presentation by our Chief of Police, Mr. Catania, and he rolled out a new program called Code Red. It has gone out to the community, and what this is a system whereby the police department can roll out information in times of crisis, whether it's a weather event, whether it's some other critical episode that's occurring in our town. Residents are invited to go on the town webpage and sign up for it. You can either use an email, you can use an instant message account, you can use a text message account to be alerted by the police department, and it is an investment the police have made because they believe that they are a central location for anything that could happen that might disrupt the activities of the community in general. It has been publicized in local publications over the past few weeks, but if you're interested in learning more about this, please visit the town council website. There's a little section there regarding the Code Red program, and it's going to be a very probably useful tool going forward if we have any episodes that we need to advise our community about what's happening and get the message out in an efficient and thorough manner. So it is something we're looking forward to seeing. We also learned that Jessica Martins is the new SRO. I'm sure she'll be starting over the summer sometime to work with school administration. There's special training Jessica is going to be going through, and she is the first SRO in the Plainville school system. So we were very happy that she accepted that role, and I'm sure she'll do a wonderful job for everybody. Other items of interest that people over the past years have been wondering about is some of the development that's going on in New Britain Avenue, specifically the Chung property. Right now, the Economic Development Agency has recommended a memo of understanding which would provide a future tax abatement to the property being currently developed on New Britain Avenue. The proposed abatement would be 50% of the improvement for a period of 5 years, with potential annual extensions up to 3 additional years, as approved by the town council. The current improvements are being made to the 349 New Britain Avenue area with proposed buildings, a 17,000 square foot retail building and a 12,000 square foot speculative commercial building. The total cost of the buildings is estimated to be $3 million. This is kind of exciting. People have been watching that site for a very long time as it looked pretty bad for a number of years, and it was purchased by a developer, and he had some remediation to do on that property through the state of Connecticut. That has been completed, and now he is getting it back on the tax rolls, and it's kind of an exciting thing to watch that the rubble of dirt and stone is now going to be an actual building. and the town of Plainville will certainly benefit from its being there. So that was a very exciting piece of news that we got. We also were asked recently by 2 developers to accept donations of land. One was from Oakland Developers, which is off of Ledge Road, and the other one was a donation of land by the Roger Tofflon Estate in Connecticut, Sand and Stone. This particular piece of property are 3 parcels totaling approximately 35 acres, and they are adjacent to 2 other town-owned properties. The benefit to this is the acquisition of these parcels will provide a significant wildlife corridor through the northern portion of Plainville. What has happened with both of these is, as they have been referred to our Planning and Zoning Commission, they will review them to see if they fit within the parameters of what that use would be, and if they come back to the town council, we'll be asked to vote on both of them. So it's kind of an interesting thing. It doesn't happen with us all the time, but the large piece of property would certainly be an addition to our town and make some things very useful. We also recently voted on the mill rate. The town of Plainville, through the state budget, which was finalized, was reduced by $4,400 from what we had originally anticipated. Certainly not a large amount of money. And the town council ended up approving a mill rate of 33.84, which is what we originally planned to do. So the $4,000, although it is money, we believe we can take care of some of that throughout the course of the year. We also are part of a regional health district, Plainville and Southington. It was formed 6 years ago, and now the town of Middlefield has expressed an interest in joining the district. Shane Lockwood, our director of health for the district, has been working as the interim health director for Middlefield and is very familiar with their operation and their needs. If Middlefield does vote to join our district, it would result in a net increase to revenues of approximately $30,000 per year, and Shane thinks this is something that's completely doable, and he would welcome them on board that group into our district. We also received bids for our water pollution control phosphorus removal upgrade. As I'm sure some of you who follow what the town council does, our water pollution control plant is mandated to do an upgrade for phosphorus removal. The total amount of the project is $11,164,000. Daniel O'Connell, Sons of Holyoke, Massachusetts, came in with the lowest bid, and it is approximately $330,000 less than the engineer's estimate. Right now, our consultants of Ty and Bond have reviewed the bids and met with our Capital Projects Building Committee last week. The committee is recommending that we award the bid to O'Connell Sons. And on the same point, the town of Plainville has applied for a grant from the state of Connecticut for 50% reimbursement cost on this project. That's a significant amount of money that the taxpayers will be relieved of once this project gets going. So we're happy that it's going to go forward. It's something that the town has been working on for several years, and it's now a reality, and we're moving along with that. We also announced our summer meeting schedule. Typically during the summer, the town council meets once every month versus 2 times a month. And the summer schedule for the town council, the meeting dates would be July 16th, August 20th, and September 17th. If anything should come up in the meanwhile requiring a special meeting, of course, we can certainly still do that. But right now, those will be the dates that we will be meeting. We also had some good news from our finance director regarding our liability, auto, and property insurance. This had been talked about during our budget process, and we were trying to do some more research to see if we could get some savings out of that particular part of our insurance. As it turns out, our finance director, Rob Buden, and Dan Anderson from HD Seeger were able to put together some proposals, and the town is going to be able to save approximately $200,000 by changing some of our insurance from PERMA over to a different carrier. That would be Trident. So that's another piece of good news. We're still trying to save money as much as we can, despite the uncertainty of the state government, of the capital. Plainville is continuously looking to try and find ways that we can do things that will benefit the town at a lower cost. The high school parking lot, maybe this will be talked about tonight, but just so I'll give you a little preview of this. Bids went out for the high school repaving of the parking lot. 2 bids were received. The low bid was submitted by B&W Pavement and Landscaping of Waterford. The low bid currently exceeds the amount allocated for the project. O&G, the construction manager for the project, is reviewing both bids. Another company did bid along with them. And they will be meeting with the bidders to determine what changes can be made to bring the cost of the project in line with the current budget. Once that has been accomplished, the results will be brought to the Capital Projects Building Committee for consideration, and finally the Town Council will approve the bids that have been recommended by our Capital Projects Building Committee. Certainly the hope is to get this completed quickly so that these parking lots can be taken care of during the summer school break. And a couple more things. The town of Plainville has already been looking at some other ways to save some cost. One way is through our trash disposal. Trash is a very expensive part of every town's budget, and we recently had a presentation for reducing the cost of trash. This is actually becoming a crisis in Connecticut, disposal of trash. Budgets are strained. We have aging trash, waste-to-energy facilities, and solutions are being studied as part of a SMART program. The DEEP of Connecticut's goal is to reduce waste by 60% statewide by 2024. It's an interesting program that we may be taking part of. There's more to come on this, but we also were told about another program which is parallel to trash in regard to getting rid of soft waste. And by that I mean clothing, bedding, and other soft goods that people often put into their trash. Of course, that goes to the trash plant. There has to be a sorting process. All of this costs money, and all of it becomes much more difficult to sustain. There's a number of towns around us that have already signed on to this program. And what this would be is, if we do this, it's a company that's separate from our trash hauler. They would come on your trash day. You would have a pink plastic bag that you would put your soft goods in, whether it's clothing, bedding, pillows, whatever you wanted to get rid of that you would sometimes put in your trash. You'd put it separately in a pink plastic bag. That third party would come around on the day of our trash collection and pick that up at no cost to the taxpayer, no cost to the town. And they take those materials away, and then something else happens to them. So that's another program we're looking at to try, and again, this is to reduce our cost of trash collection, to reduce energy when it goes to a plant, and try to get people to be more conscious of what they're actually putting in a trash barrel, along with their recycling barrel. These are areas that is going to be a growing concern for every community, and we're going to keep an eye on it to see if there's something we can do to help solve the problem. And finally, one last reminder that Tuesday, June 19th, we are having a referendum at the firehouse. The referendum is for a $2.1 million expenditure to purchase 2 fire trucks. The referendum will be from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Anybody that is a taxpayer or registered voter, we encourage you to get out and support it. These pieces of equipment are old. The pumper is 30 years old, and we have a tower truck, which is 25 years old. They are the workhorses of the fire department. They go out to every call. One of the companies that this pumper was originally purchased from is no longer in business. Even though our fire company does a tremendous job maintaining those equipments, there are no longer parts available to take care of this. So as a result, it's time. These are large expenditures, but for public safety and also to maintain the safety of our firefighters, it's time to replace these pieces of equipment. And you'll have an opportunity to vote on that at the referendum. So mark your calendars. I'd like to thank you very much, and if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Okay, have a wonderful summer, everybody.
Okay, next we have Dr. Brumman's report.
I would like to bring up Mr. Medic and Kayla Guadarrama. They would be presenting about our NEASC accreditation process. Kaylin and Deb Peichel are co-chairs leading the way, and they've made tremendous progress along with support from our administration. And we updated the board earlier this year, and now we'd like to kind of let them know where we stand heading into our first visit in the fall. So I will turn it over to Mr. Medic and Ms. Guadarrama. Wait, do we have a technical difficulty? Takes a highly skilled hand to turn on those monitors.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Medic.
Good evening, and thanks to the Board of Education for giving us the opportunity to present tonight. Kayla Guadarrama is with us. She's one of our two co-chairs. Deb Peichel, our library media specialist, is unable to attend tonight. She's at a graduate school class until 10 o'clock. She did offer to bust out early and come here, but we told her to stay in school.
You don't tell her, we'll still be here at 10.
Well, we have a lot of slides, but in all seriousness, we are in the midst of our decennial reaccreditation, which is a process that is overseen by the New England schools and colleges out of Massachusetts, which sets a series of standards for all secondary schools throughout the New England states related to teaching and learning, and it's a benchmark for us to measure ourselves against. So Kayla and I are going to talk a little bit about the work that we've undertaken this year with our faculty here, and then also what our next steps are. For anyone who's not gone through a reaccreditation process, it is an opportunity for us to self-evaluate and self-reflect on areas of strength and weakness within the building, and to use the opportunity to improve our weaknesses on behalf of our students. So this year, our faculty took part in a self-evaluation study, and we have just finalized our 72-page self-report, which we are just reviewing for grammatical corrections and errors right now, which we'll be submitting to the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. In the past, you'll remember our last reaccreditation visit was in 2009. So 10 years would make 2019 our next date. NEASC went through a revision of their standards and delayed our visit from 2019 to 2020. In addition, NEASC has created a new model which not only has the decennial visit every 10 years, but 2 years prior to that visit, a smaller team of educators will come for what's called a collaborative conference. So this October, and we'll talk about this briefly in a minute, this October we'll be visited by a team of 4 educators from throughout New England or Connecticut who will spend a day and a half with us reviewing our self-study report and making a series of recommendations along with our self-recommendations. The process has changed significantly because it was very dependent on what the visiting team would find at the visit. Now, the school is in the driver's seat more to self-evaluate themselves and also self-design our improvement plan both in the 1-year, 3-year, and 5-year periods following our visits. So this was a direct change that NEASC made in response to feedback from superintendents and administrators in the various states. So to get right into it, we're going to kind of jump briefly through about 9 agenda items. First, I'm going to touch briefly on the purpose and benefit of NEASC accreditation or reaccreditation. I'll talk briefly about the cycle, our timeline, and then Kaylin will get into talking about the 5 areas or the 5 standards which will be measured against, how our self-study report came to be, and she'll talk briefly about the collaborative conference and decennial visit, and then I'll talk a little bit about what we've learned from our self-study and what that's going to influence our work in 2018 and 2019. Once we have a finalized self-study report, it doesn't need any formal approval by either the superintendent or the Board of Education, but we'll provide you a copy of it. We'll try and break it up by each standard, otherwise it's one really long 72-page document. It's a body of work that's representative of what we saw. A lot of times, and what I've learned from veteran principals, including Mr. LePage, who've gone through this at other schools, and I have gone through this process in 2 other districts I've worked in, is that a lot of times people stop the work that they're doing in the school and take on a new task for the purpose of NEASC. And what our focus has been is to really just measure what we do and what we want to do on behalf of our kids against these standards set forth by NEASC. So nothing that we're doing is because of this process. What we're using is the standards and the elements of the evaluation to help guide the work that we're currently undertaking and also what we hope to undertake. Frankly put, what Kaylin, Deb, and I have talked about with Mr. Coe and Mr. Johnson throughout the year is that we're going to take our relative strengths and continue forward with them, and we're going to find our areas, and we're going to work on all of them, because that's a benefit to the students. If we're not in a cycle of continuous improvement, we're not doing our job on behalf of the kids. So this report, though that originated in 2017-18, will be pertinent to our collaborative conference in 2018, our decennial visit in 2020, but will influence the work of for students upcoming years through 2030. So this process is going to undertake and set kind of our 10-year outlook of where we're going as a school. And we're very excited because obviously we feel that many of our programs are very strong, but also we learn from our weaknesses and improve year in, year out for our students. So to get into the purpose of accreditation, our self-evaluation, we look at these programs, all of our programs, from academic to extracurricular to social emotional to special education, all programs at the high school. We look at them against the elements of the NEASC standards. There's 5 standards, and each standard has multiple bullet point elements underneath it. Kev, you want to advance to the next slide, please? So the main purpose is really for us to have a common system where we can measure ourselves against a series of standards the same way that any high school in any of the 6 New England states would do. So these standards that were recently revised in 2016, these will be the new benchmark for what we have moving forward. So every school after 2020 will be using these standards. We're one of the first schools in Connecticut to go through the revised NEASC process with the updated standards. From the feedback we've received from Fran Kennedy, he's our NEASC liaison. Some of you may know him. He's the former principal at Berlin High School. He recently retired and is working as an associate director at NEASC. Fran came and spent the day with us and was very impressed with the process we undertook with our staff, and was very appreciative of how collaborative of a process it's been, and has also offered us an opportunity to present at an upcoming conference this fall on best practices. So they're learning from us as much as we're learning from them with these new models and standards, but they're not much different from the previous iterations. So again, the purpose and benefits really kind of, as I've articulated here, are for us to kind of measure ourselves in all of our programs. The benefits of accreditation, I tried to divide this up in 3 sections. What are the benefits of this for kids and families? What are the benefits for the Board of Ed and district office, and then also the taxpayers? From the perspective of students and families, there's an organization that's monitoring what we do and how we do things on behalf of students, that we're doing it with the best interest of them in mind, and that we're focusing in a system that's rooted in teaching and learning. In addition, NEASC is a vehicle that allows us to correct our differences. So as much as we realize that some things work and don't work, now we have a true tested series of standards that we can measure ourselves against. And finally, by being an accredited institution, what that means is that should one of our students transfer due to a family move or a change to a school, it means that their transfer credits will be accepted at the other institution. And also when they're applying for colleges, it allows the colleges to know that the school is a reputable institution and that our academics carry weight as similar to the students from throughout the country. NEASC is just one of the organizations that oversees regional accreditation. There's a Mid-Atlantic group, a Southeast group, out west. So there's numerous organizations, and NEASC has branches that oversee universities, public schools, elementary schools, international, and for us it's been a very good process throughout. For the Board of Education and district office perspective, what it shows is that what we do at the high school is in direct relation, not in contrast, but in direct relation and correlation to the policies and procedures set forth by the Board of Education. So rest assured knowing that what we do is what we articulate in our policy handbook, and that how we handle every situation and how we handle broader academic pictures are in line with the vision and goals of the district. And finally, for the taxpayers and community, what it means is that our institution is using the resources allocated from the board and town to promote a positive school experience for our students academically and social emotionally. So to be accredited, what it really means for us is that it's kind of a mark of distinction, but also it's a reaffirmation that what we do truly is in the best interest of our students. So I'm going to have Kaylin kind of talk to you a little bit about the standards. I'm going to talk about the 10-year cycle. So in 2017, we began a process of self-reflection where each member of the faculty worked on partnered teams and in larger groups underneath each of the 5 standards. And what they did was they took a period of time to analyze and explore how we do things at Plainville High School and look for elements and examples of evidence that correlate to the standards. So during this entire school year, we spent a lot of our professional time both in the building as well as district release time working on our self-study report. In October of 2018, we're going to host a collaborative conference for about a day and a half with a team of 4 educators who are going to look to see that our self-study truly is embodied in what we do. They'll look for elements of it while also kind of looking at some of our self-designed areas of improvement and our plans for that. From November 2018 till June 2019, as a school community, we'll be able to work on our development of our growth plan. So following the recommendations of that collaborative conference and our identified areas of growth, we'll put together a plan that we'll be working towards to improve prior to the decennial visit in 2020. During the 2019 school year, we're going to implement some of our growth targets. And that's where we're going to see if the areas that we want to focus on, how our students are doing, how our faculty is doing, and how we're showing and demonstrating growth. By 2020, November of 2020, we'll have our decennial visit. A team of between 6 to 8 educators and folks from NEAS will come visit us for between 3 and 4 days, and they will take part in a variety of activities to kind of look to see if the elements of our self-study are still embedded in our school climate and culture, but if also the areas that we want to improve are really being improved. And then following that visit, we'll get a large summary report of a series of commendations and recommendations from NEASC and the visiting committee of what we can continue to do forward related to our growth plan. And then at various increments following that decennial visit, we'll submit progress monitoring reports to NEASC to let them know what we have done and what we still need to do. And then that cycle will start back up probably after they visit, probably about 7 years afterwards, we'll get back to going into this cycle. So in 2020, we'll have our decennial visit followed by another visit in 2030, 2040, 2050. At one point, hopefully we'll be retired by then, and maybe I'll come back and be on the visiting team here in Plainville. But nonetheless, we've done an extensive amount of work this year, so we get to kind of step off the gas a little bit next year and kind of look at some of the areas of growth and really formulate plans on how we want to attack them and improve them. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Kaylin Guardarama, one of our world language teachers extraordinaire, who has stepped into this teacher leadership role of running. Nate's laughing because he knows it's true. Who stepped into one of the roles along with Deb Peichel of leading this process, because this is really a teacher-led process. So, Kaylin.
Thank you, Mr. Medic. Good evening, everyone. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the 5 standards by which we'll be evaluated in October. And Mr. Medic already mentioned that the NEASC went through a self-reflection process of their own, and they solicited feedback from member schools as well as other stakeholders and determined that they needed to make a change as well. They really wanted to streamline the process. So instead of having 7 standards of accreditation, we now currently have 5. They are listed up on the screen. And every single member of our faculty is a member of this self-reflection process. Each standard committee, each member of the faculty is a member of a standard committee group. And then each committee group has a chairperson who also serves as a member of the self-reflection committee. We have 2 students, a freshman and a junior, who also serve on the self-reflection committee. We have 2 parents as well as a representative from the Board of Education, which we've been very fortunate to have. We know what a time commitment that is, so we thank you very much. If we could go to the next slide, Mr. Ross. Thank you. I'm so spoiled in my classroom. I can do this with my remote and walk around the room. So this is a timeline of what we have been through and where we are going to go from here. In preparation to lead this process, Deb Peichel and I read a book called Reflective Practice to Improve Schools. And in that book, they really lay out a nice theory of action for reflective practice. And we've really kind of followed that throughout our NEAS work this year. So in October, we went through the pause stage. We introduced the NEAS process and the changes to the staff. We talked about the what, the why, and the how. We became familiar with the standards, and that was really, we grouped everybody, and that was really our focus for the fall, was to get to know the standards. Then we went through a process of openness where we sent out NEAS surveys to students, to staff, and as well as to families, to gather feedback about everybody's opinions, the way that they view what we do here at Plainville High School. And then where we spent the bulk of the work was in the inquiry and thinking stages, where we unpacked the standards. We really got familiar with the principles and the foundational elements. We started collecting evidence to support these standards, and we started to question, okay, what does this mean? What does this tell us? Then we went to the thinking stage, where we were drafting our narratives and determining alignment to those standards. And currently we are in the learning and action phase, which Mr. Medic will speak about in a couple of minutes. So in October, we're going to have 2 to 4 people from NEAS, 2 to 4 visitors come for 2 days. They're going to spend 2 days with us doing a school tour. They will come to visit classrooms to see our teachers in action and what is going on in our rooms. They will meet with various stakeholders, and the purpose really of this is they will receive our self-reflection report prior to their visit. And the purpose of their visit is just to kind of verify that this is what's going on in the school, to review the self-reflection findings, and to determine areas of improvement. Then the decennial conference visit will happen November 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th of year 2020. And a bigger group of 6 to 8 visitors will spend 3 to 4 days at PHS. And the primary purpose of that visit will be to observe teaching and learning, very much like the collaborative conference visit, and to really assess how we are addressing those areas for improvement that we articulated at the collaborative conference visit. The visiting team will take a look at our growth plan and determine our capacity for continual growth and improvement. And we'll talk about our next level of work. Turn it back over to you.
So through this self-study process, as we kind of said to our faculty and staff throughout the year, is we are who we are, and we know where we want to be. So we want to use the work and the findings to put us in a trajectory to get to the point where we want to be for our students. So our next level of work, what we've realized is that we need to kind of refocus our attention on a purpose for education. So right now we are finalizing a revised vision and mission statement that will be central to all processes at the school. So really, just as you guys undertake work in crafting goals and the vision of the board, it's what we kind of will ascribe to, and it'll be kind of our compass to keep us true north in all decision-making processes. With that said, we also need to have clear standards for graduation. So though we have, which has been approved by the board, our credit requirements, we need to have some broader standards that we want our students, the knowledge, skills, and dispositions that we want a graduate of Plainville High School to have by the time that they leave here in 4 years. This is called a portrait of the graduate. It's actually called a vision of the graduate, and a vision of the graduate work is really a pre-K through 12 model. So what we wanted to do is kind of spearhead the work that the district will take in crafting a portrait of the graduate, or a vision of the graduate, and create a smaller snapshot version at the high school level of the portrait. So what does a 4-year knowledge, skill, and disposition trajectory for a student look like? What do they need to know? What skills do they need to master? So at the start of the 2018-19 school year, our professional faculty will work to identify areas and skills that we feel our students need to have before exiting Plainville High School. From there, we'll develop a series of school-wide rubrics. And these will be broad rubrics that can be used interchangeably throughout academic departments to measure students related to that specific knowledge or those skills or those dispositions outlined in the portrait of the graduate. That work in and of itself will take all of next school year because, again, we're not required to have any of this by NEAS, but we want this to be our vision and our expectation for our students. So we want to take the time to craft these statements of purpose and these documents that will help support the work in a manner that allows us not just to create a rubric and roll it out, but to test it almost in the beta phase. So for example, as we start with a blank piece of paper and we craft a rubric, say on writing or critical reading skills, we articulate the skills and the knowledge that the students need, and we look at the definitions of mastery, proficiency, developing, and then once we have a draft, we put it in real time with students against assessments that we're currently using. And then we take that feedback of how that rubric worked and craft it again. So we may go through a couple drafts of these to test them out, to eventually, our goal is to have 4 or 5 rubrics that are tied to the portrait of the graduate work that will be able to say, a student has left here with the ability to critically think, communicate effectively, be a sound citizen. These are just some of those broader skills that we hope our graduates attain. From there, we'll create a system in which we monitor and measure students against those rubrics, and we'll be reporting out to parents and the community on how our students are doing related to those goals. So in addition to the number of AP or ECE credits our students receive, or the academic ranking that they'll attain as valedictorian, salutatorian, and so on, we'll also be able to track their growth and progress related to some of those larger skills that are commonplace in whether it's college, career, the military, or workforce. The big thing you see the word collaboratively, we could design this ourselves as an administrative team or a small team of teachers, but to really make sure that this work is meaningful, impactful, understood, but more importantly embedded in our school culture, we're going to engage everyone in the process. And as you guys know, we have about 73 full-time faculty members, so it's going to be something where reaching consensus is difficult, but it's needed in the best interest. And at various points we'll be surveying families and we'll be surveying our students to see how some of this work is ongoing, so that we have quality documents and the quality purpose of what we do. So this is not necessarily the on-the-ground, in-class, everyday activities. These are some of the broader ideas and learning expectations that we'll have. From there, it's really putting it into practice and seeing how it works in a full implementation on a regular school year, day in, day out. So for example, the rubric that Mrs. Guardaramo creates in her Spanish 3 class for an essay is going to look somewhat different than our school-wide writing rubric, but it'll have numerous elements of it embedded in it. It'll just be more specific to the locally designed assessment. So again, clear articulation from top to bottom. So next year, we're going to take off the self-study, and we're going to kind of put in the work of talking about teaching and learning and how to improve our practice for our students. So this is just kind of a brief overview. We don't have any finalized documents as of yet, but we'll be getting them out to you momentarily. So with everything we kind of shared, does anyone have any questions or comments for us? Oh, I didn't put it in the slide, but here's what I can tell you. We have numerous educators who are going out on visits, both on collaborative conference as well as 3- and 4-day visits. Dr. Brummett herself is attending one in the fall. I've been on one. Mr. Johnson just got back from one. I believe Ms. Guardaramo may be going on one. We have a sizable number of faculty who have expressed interest in going on the visit. And what that does is that helps them to see from the perspective of a visiting team what to look for. So again, we take that learning of our professional staff and bring it into our own practice to not only plan successful visits, but also to have the real conversation of what do we need to improve for the students and how can we go about doing that. So again, as much as it is about going to assess another school, sometimes best practices find their way back in, and luckily there's no copyright infringement on any of this for us. It's all professional sharing in the education community. So finding a way to learn from our colleagues in other schools and districts. With that said, the requirement of the Board of Education has changed drastically from the previous standards in the 2011 version to now. As you guys may remember, and Mr. Terrell, I believe you were on the board in 2009, there was a standard, Standard 7, which was really heavily focused on the role of the Board of Education and central office administrators to the high school. And it centered a lot around funding. And again, NEASC has kind of heard the feedback, and they've kind of pared that down to the essential parts for the Board of Education. So right now, it's Standard 5. There's 2 elements of the Board of Education and the central office that are asked specifically. The first is related to providing the proper resources for the school, which clearly we do, and we articulated that in our self-study report. And then the second part is providing the principal with the appropriate decision-making authority to lead the school, again, which we do, and I appreciate that very much. So we have that clearly identified. Prior to that, in visits, there's a requirement for Board of Education members to take part in a 45-minute question and answer panel with the visiting team on the Sunday of the visit after the welcome. We, again, as I said before, NEASC is still kind of learning how they want this new visit to work, so I don't have the exact requirements of the Board of Education, so I'm assuming there will be some type of question and answer panel, whether everyone's required to participate or a small team. We'll let you know as soon as we get more clarification. That's what my summer meeting will be with our NEASC liaison to kind of map out our visit. So we're starting to get more into the planning stage. On a complete positive note, I went to a NEASC visit a few years back to Stanford High School, and it cost them roughly $20,000 to put the visit on. And that was another piece of feedback that NEASC heard loud and clear, is that, you know, to bring people from various communities and towns to your town for 3, 4, 5 days, hotels, meals, they become costly. So NEASC has pared down the visits to essential members of the team, 2 to 4 for the collaborative, 6 to 8. So we also just recently got guidelines on the cost, and it's significantly lower than what it was in prior years. So as a requirement of this, we do have to provide this and we have to pay for it, but it won't be an impact to any program that we want to run at the high school. So we won't be saying we can't have this because we need to provide 3 meals a day for a team of 16. So we're balancing that out as well. So moving forward, a lot of the work has really been shifted back to the school community level, but certainly we'll keep you apprised of everything. And I believe probably at our first meeting of next school year, you'll have an approved vision and mission statement that's been approved by the teachers for your review, discussion, and approval. But we'll give you guys the summer off a little bit. So any questions or comments?
I would just ask, can you, I don't think we had a copy of your presentation in our packet.
Okay. Certainly, we were just fine tuning it today, but we will get a copy to Joe and Dr. Brummett, and we'll get it out to you.
Really what I'd like to look at and is the standards that Kaylin talked about, but that's really what I'd like to look at.
We'll provide, we can provide some PDFs on those. They come in small booklets now, but we can get a few extra copies, or we can download them online so you can look at those as well.
And I thank you for explaining the difference. I know Dr. Brummett had mentioned to me that it was considerably different than it was in the past, and it sounds quite different. It sounds more like, from a common sense standpoint, that you're already working on your goals rather than having them come in, look at what they want you to do, and then give you goals that they have to come back and check on after that.
And that was one of the things that they said was, it was very prescriptive before, where they would require you to have certain things, and now they've kind of backed off of that. And for example, there's no template for the growth plan. It essentially could be what our school improvement plan looks like. It could fit the model that we use at the district level. It could be a bullet, they've really pared it down, because what they're really looking at is the essential, key, important elements of that. Like, what are you really trying to get out of it? So they've really taken that feedback, and they really want it to be meaningful to schools to drive improvement and change efforts.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions for Mr. Maddock?
Just want to thank Mr. Medic and, go ahead, another question? Oh, sorry. No, I would like to thank Kaylin and Mr. Medic and Deb and Essentia. It's been a boatload of work, but I think the process is going along very well, and I look forward to inviting you both back next year for an update. And I'm very excited to go on a visit in October myself, because I've only sat in the chair of special ed director during our last visit here, so I think I've got a lot to learn. So many thanks, and I'm excited about us doing a great job heading toward this reaccreditation.
And it went all digital as well, so those binders from 2009, No more. So we'll save a considerable amount of money there. It's fully digital and very interactive. So as we have officially published documents, we'll share that with you guys, and we'll get a copy of the presentation standards to you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I would now like to welcome Rosa Perez to provide us with a brief update about recent professional development and what we have planned for the summer. So, Mrs. Perez, take it away.
Hello. I went on a NIAS visit at the beginning of December, so I have been part of the visiting team. It was a school in Massachusetts, and it was a charter school, so very different from what we know here today. Alrighty, good evening, Board of Education, Dr. Brummett, administration team, and all present here tonight. It is my pleasure to offer news from the curriculum office and about professional learning and upcoming summer activities. Of course, we continue to have our vision document guide our professional learning for the purpose of improved outcomes for students, teachers, and our collective learning. In the world of professional learning news, we had, in March, we had our our last professional learning day. We continue to offer professional learning that is homegrown and meets the needs and wants of our faculty and staff. I have a little video, so it allows me to show you what an engaging professional learning day looks like. Really?
A lot of us are used to getting that message, so.
Okay. There were nice pictures too, with great music. All right, and I don't have my laptop here to give you permission. Hello, so picture it in your mind. We begin the day with breakfast provided by Jim Bondi and his dedicated staff. During this time, all have the opportunity to sit, chat, catch up with each other in a relaxing atmosphere. The continental breakfast is available from 7:30 until 8:25. At that point, we move to our first morning session. Half of the morning was dedicated to continue the conversation about culturally responsive education that started back in November. We met in the same groups established in November. This familiarity facilitated the sharing of classroom experiences that continue helping us improve personally and professionally through the continuum from cultural awareness to cultural competence. The second half of the morning and afternoon offered menu choices on a variety of topics. I am happy to report that 44 faculty members and administrators presented throughout the day. We only had 2 outside guest speakers offer their knowledge and expertise about the 504 process and how the NGSS will shift science instruction with the elementary faculty. That was the afternoon session, and all elementary faculty attended. In sum, all offerings continue to have the purpose of improving student learning through positive student-teacher relationships, in turn making learning and engaging and fun for all. I will give you permission to see my nice video and all the happy people we had. Next, I include the diagram so that you can see where we started and how we are progressing from being culturally aware to culturally competent. We would like all our faculty and staff to continue asking themselves, how culturally competent am I on a daily basis? Here, I offer the complete list of offerings during the March Professional Learning Day. If you have any questions and would like to see how the presentations when I have descriptions to all the presentations. Kevin, the next slide, please. Okay, there's the list of all the topics that we had throughout the day. Next, we have our summer programs. We will start with RAMP. We'll continue to provide services to about 51 students in K through 3 from Plainville and the Open Choice program. Each day, children will be provided with breakfast and mid-morning snacks. Therefore, students will be fed physically and mentally. RAMP will be in operation from July 2nd to July 26th, Monday through Thursday. All classes will focus on literacy with hyper-focus on differentiation and small group instruction. All students will be assessed at the beginning of the program for the purpose of establishing a baseline and at the end for the purpose of measuring growth throughout the program. Additionally, this year the program will offer half-hour of STEAM activities on a daily basis. The special education program will run from July 2nd to August 2nd, from 9 to 12 for most students, and one group will be meeting from 9 to 1. Approximately 58 students in grades K to 12 plus, that means they have graduated and they're in the 21 program, up to 21 program, will participate on a daily basis. Students will receive intensive reading support, speech, occupational therapy, related services, social skills, and transition services according to their individual IEP needs. PHS will continue to offer a credit recovery program. It will take place from July 5th through August 1st from 8:30 to 1:30. The program offers a blend of traditional classroom classes and online learning through Edgenuity. The day is broken into 1.5-hour sessions, an hour and a half, and students can recover up to 2 credits. The program is tuition-based with different fees for resident and non-resident students. The Curriculum Academy, on its second year, will run from June 25th through the 28th from 8 to 1 here at PHS. During the 4 days, groups come together to write, plan, and/or revise curriculum documents. The days offer time for collaboration across grade levels and disciplines. The time also allows me to meet with individuals and groups for the purpose of offering guidance on discussion topics, best practices, and resources and standards. The relaxed atmosphere, snacks, and collaboration produces quality curriculum documents. Although we come together for curriculum writing at the end of June, curriculum writing and revision is ongoing throughout the year as we continually adjust to the learning needs of all students. Especially with NEASC, we have been revising curriculum and everything has to be in a set way that looks the same everywhere for all the courses. And that brings me to the curriculum webpage. Can you access that? Okay. Yay. Okay. This summer, the construction of the curriculum page will be completed. John Dara will be helping me. Actually, Tuana and I will be with John next Monday. Currently, all certified staff can access pre-K through 12 curriculum documents in one location. But starting on October 1st, the documents will be available for parents and students as well. The goal is for all, faculty, parents, and students, to be able to see what is being taught at all levels. This knowledge offers the opportunity for parents and students to prepare and perhaps to share their knowledge and expertise about a topic. And for all faculty to learn about what students have already studied, what they are studying right now, and what they will be studying next. So the curriculum page right now, all those blue links are active links to the curriculum that everyone can see. This is the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, please let me know. But I have to thank you for your continued support so that curriculum improvements can be an ongoing process and professional development can continue to foster knowledge and innovation for all. Any questions? We're good? Okay. Thank you.
Thank Ms. Perez and Ms. Graham-Douglas for running a wonderful curriculum office. I just want to let the board know that when I've been hiring a lot of teachers over these past few weeks, as you noticed with our retirements earlier this evening, and when they hear about our menu options for our professional development, they are very excited about it. Typically they hear about it from the principals before they hear it from me, but they are thrilled with the notion of, my goodness, I get a special a curriculum or a PD development option that's going to be relevant to me. It sounds sensible, but it doesn't always happen. So the work that we've done in that regard, and it's carried out by Tawana and Rosa, has been very, very important and meaningful to our teachers. And also publicizing our curriculum in the fall is also part of our strategic plan, that we wanted parents to be able to access it, to understand where their children are headed. So all these things are just tremendous efforts that are working toward our strategic plan completion. Also in that regard, typically in the spring we do have a board presentation about school climate, and we'll be talking about our survey results, but more importantly, I've been getting numerous inquiries from parents as well as alerts that some social media reports have been concerning about bullying. And we felt strongly tonight that Steve and I would co-present about what the district does to not only investigate bullying, but also prevent it in the first place. And it's a pretty comprehensive approach, although we continuously work on ways to improve it. I actually have a parent here tonight, Mrs. Longo, who has been excellent about contacting my office, not only to discuss the bullying matters, but also to offer some of her resources, as she has some expertise in that regard. And that's just a positive example of a parent that wants to be supporting those solutions, which I very much appreciate. And I always encourage folks that, rather than go on the social media Plainville Talks, I'd much rather talk to you. And I can really then dig in deep, see what the struggles are or what the offers are, and move forward. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce myself and Mr. LePage to talk about positive school climate reports. So, ready for the next slide. Oh, that's great. I wanted to bring to the board's attention that positive school climate is absolutely part of our strategic plan under the category of students. So tonight, hopefully, we'll illuminate all of those things that we do relative to positive school climate. The first, Mr. LePage found a very nice quote that I think is something that embodies how we believe all of our students should be treated, that the best thing we can do for our kids is let them know how much they're cared about and developing a positive relationship with them. That's really where it begins and ends from the adult student level. So that's one piece of our work. Another piece of our work is, from a district-wide perspective, setting a very positive tone for climate. So that's some of the work that we do, both central office and in building leaderships. That's why I feel strongly about our Everyday Hero celebrations. Some of the other things we do, it was mentioned earlier this evening, are very elaborate and involved Veterans Day celebrations that our veterans very much appreciate. We do appreciation breakfasts throughout the year for custodians, bus drivers, other staff. We're going to celebrate with our preschool staff soon, who just completed their NIASC visit, which was, or NIASC, I'm sorry, got too many accreditations going on here, which went very, very well. The positive promotions we do throughout the district to acknowledge our educators, the t-shirts that we wear to kind of promote solidarity and what our efforts are when those half days come on Wednesdays, that we're doing the professional learning community work and allowing our teachers time to collaborate. And some of the revisions Mr. LePage made this year to our teacher evaluation system has allowed for a lot more collaboration and peer support than ever before. We also look at some of the other efforts we make. There's this district-wide Safe School Climate Team that Mr. LePage spearheads, and the whole agenda for that team is how do we improve climate district-wide. I'll get into a moment about our panorama surveys for this year, but one of the big things they look at is what are our kids, parents, and staff reporting about school climate and instruction, and what do we need to do to make it even better. We already talked about the extreme importance of positive relationships, both with our teachers to each other, our administrators to our teachers, and then our teachers to our students. All very important. We also spent quite a bit of time this year, and it's in our strategic plan, to emphasize allowing our educators to learn more about culturally responsive teaching practices, ensuring equity, reducing unintended biases toward any of our students. We've also, will illuminate tonight in some detail all the comprehensive programs that we have district-wide to improve climate and culture. And a very important system that we've used with the, thanks to Kevin Ross, is Go Guardian software, which detects, as our kids are on their Chromebooks, it detects if they're searching for anything that might indicate they're at risk in some way. And throughout the year, we get alerts. Mostly they go to the building principals, who are vigilant about monitoring that. And in some cases, we've had to do some pretty significant intervention when we feel students may be at risk in some way, shape, or form. So these are all some of the things that we do on an ongoing basis. Earlier I mentioned bullying is something that we hear a lot about. And I will say the last few weeks of school, for whatever reason, we do see an uptick of student misbehavior. Whether it's because they're ready to be out of school, especially in a year where we've had a lot of snow days, or sometimes it's because they're very nervous about being out of school and the structure that it brings. So there's a lot of reasons that happens. Tonight, though, we're hoping to, parents often use the word bullying with us, and it's an important term for us to really explain this evening. And what does it mean? What's the real definition? But even more importantly is whether or not we call it bullying or we call it peer inappropriate behavior toward each other, we do deal with it. It's different approaches, some proactive, some reactive, but no matter what, when a student has done something wrong and is in some way hurt another student, there's a lot that we do. There's a lot that we do to rectify that situation. So now I'll turn it over to Mr. LePage.
Thanks, Dr. Brumman. It's kind of ironic that I'm the district safe school climate coordinator because I remember being that student in middle school, even younger, and especially in freshman and sophomore year of high school, when I was picked on repeatedly. I was definitely bullied. I had a lot of mass, but I wasn't in the shape I'm in now, so I was kind of this big target. And you know, from physical getting beat on to name calling. So, and I always vowed as an upperclassman when I started to change my shape and become, you know, this big tough guy. Just kidding. Tough looking guy. I know. Here comes the hook. That I always stood up for other kids. I would never let anyone get picked on in front of me. When I was junior, senior, when I was big enough to, you know, make a difference, became an ally. So, anyway, perfect person for this job. But I stepped into this a couple of years ago, and what I want to get into is what bullying really means, because there is a lot of confusion, maybe not confusion, but misinterpretation or overuse sometimes of the term, and sometimes it's a very valid and accurate term. But by state definition and our policy and regulation reflect that directly. It's really the use of one or more students of a written, oral, or electronic communication, such as cyberbullying, which is becoming an ongoing, increasing problem, a physical act or a gesture by one or more students repeatedly, and I underline repeatedly because that is really important. It doesn't qualify as bullying unless it's repeated more than once. And that definition changed in recent years, but it has to be more than once. And you know, A through E, talking about the different elements of what bullying is, causing physical, emotional harm, reasonable fear of harm to himself or herself, create a hostile environment, infringes on the rights of the student, and substantially disrupts the educational process. So that's, by definition, what bullying means. So, as Dr. Brummett shared, the school principals, administrative team, teachers are notified of many things. I would say hundreds if I had to pull the report. I didn't for tonight's mistake of trying to keep it a little brief. Hundreds of times, you know, this kid's bothering me, and then you get from the other student, well, they said this to me, so it kind of goes back and forth. And some of those situations don't end up qualifying as bullying. They qualify as two-directional, mean-spirited behavior that is mitigated through school staff. It's not a one-way attack or qualifying as bullying. But for the complaint process, like Dr. Brummett said, every single complaint that is heard is investigated and is dealt with in the way that the administrator feels is best for that particular situation. And it's different depending on the situation many times. I dealt with many situations as a principal, as an assistant principal over that 10-year period, and now I'm addressing it in a different way. But these are the steps that are typical in a bullying complaint process. Someone notifies a member of the staff or an administrator that there's an issue. It could be a parent, it could be the student himself, a parent, a member of the staff. The administrator initiates an investigation, questions everyone involved, decisions are made whether or not it's bullying or if it's not bullying, whether it is or not. Actions are taken to stop that behavior from happening again, and the students are notified, if this happens to you again, we need to know because then it will constitute bullying. If not, then they move forward. Appropriate consequences are assigned, and I'll say this later, but in number 6, we cannot share the specific consequence that is given to that student under, it would be a FERPA violation. So legally we can't, and I know a lot of parents, you know, in that situation, myself included, would want to know what happened, what'd you do? We really can't share those details. But all we can share is that we're doing something, and you have our word that we're doing something that we believe is appropriate and best for kids, because that's what we all care about. And then finally, at the end of the year, I have to submit a report of bullying cases to the state. Now, these numbers may seem, I'm not sure how they appear to you, but you know, this is at the 3 elementary schools, the middle school, and the high school. These are the acts that were believed might have been bullying that were investigated. Some investigations take a couple of days, some take 2 or more weeks. I was involved when it took a couple of weeks and about 15 hours. And again, I can't get into details, but a lot of time on the school level, and then if it needs further investigation, it comes to my level, and I work in conjunction with the principals and assistant principals. But this is just a snapshot of what we have this year so far, and based on the statute and our policy, which one's classified as bullying. So you can see that we did have 6 in the district so far that constituted bullying. As I said earlier, I am the head of the District State Safe School Climate Committee. It's a committee representative. I have school psychologists and social workers and administrators from every school in the district that are the building representatives, safe school climate specialists in each building. We meet several times a year to talk about, as Dr. Brummett will share, the panorama surveys. It gives a snapshot about the district and how people are feeling. From that, we develop an action plan. We update our safe school climate plans, and those are updated uploaded onto the website every year and submitted to the state. And then we monitor and adjust as we go throughout the year. We're having another meeting coming up. Actually, we just had our last meeting of this year around policy. So the District Safe School Climate Committee meets. This year was our focus was on cyberbullying, because that was determined to be an area of growing concern from the surveys, from the students' perspective, that they know someone who was treated poorly online. So that was our focus. A lot was done at all the schools and instructing around cyberbullying and really preventative initiatives. As growing mental health concerns, as you heard from Ms. Schweitzer, and mental health is a big concern. It affects many kids. So that and social and emotional learning will be our focus for next year, along with other areas that are shown to be important. And then also suicide prevention policy. Our policy just needed to be refined to meet the latest state statute. So I just met with a committee a few days ago And we did that, and we'll be proposing it to the board policy subcommittee in the near future, along with different plans for that. Dr. Brumman, back to you.
Thank you very much. So each year, we've done it annually thus far, panorama surveys are administered to all students in grades 3 through 12, and the results are used to generate feedback that we provide to faculty and staff. Our families are also surveyed, and our staff is also surveyed. So it's a pretty comprehensive process. And we actually do use the survey results. We consider them very valuable. They inform our strategic planning. They inform the work that Steve's Safe School Climate Committee works on, and it guides the professional development needs, as we mentioned earlier, with regard to equitable teaching practices. That's tied into some of these results. So this year, we were very pleased with our results, which on the next slide, where we saw overall very, very positive results from our students, grades 3 to 5, grades 6 to 12. Obviously, slight ups and downs in different areas, but nothing too significant. When I look at those results, and I talked to Mr. LePage about this, obviously we want to look at climate. We can certainly do better than that, and classroom. The one that really gets my attention is the school belonging one. I'm on the right page here. No, one page, go backwards. There we go. So when I see school belonging 77%, that doesn't sit well with me. I think we should do a lot better than that. And when you dig in a little deeper there, I think it's the kids, as they head into the upper grades, start to have to find their way with their friendships and their social groups, and a lot of times that's not an easy time, and we do see a dip there. Those type of measurements are a little bit higher at the younger grades. I was pleased to see school safety seem to be pretty stable, if not a little bit higher, and I hope the kids are seeing the work that our administrators are doing to promote safe practices in their schools. So overall, those school environment surveys show that our kids are feeling confident about what they can do in school, and to a certain extent feeling the climate's overall positive, but I do believe that when it comes to school belonging, we could do quite a bit better than that, and I think that will be a focus in the coming year of planning. On the next page, we have some perspectives of what the children look at when they see their classroom settings, and overall that's extremely positive. I was pleased that most students feel that their teachers have very rigorous expectations and that they're challenged, and that they enjoy going to class, enjoy having their teachers, and wouldn't mind having that same teacher again. Of course, there's exceptions to all of those, but I would say the majority of our children feel like their academic experience is pretty high quality here in Plainville. I was also very pleased to see our family perceptions. That we again asked parents, what do you think of our school climate? What do you think of our children's ability to stay on task and to be a part of the school environment? And it's all, in the 90% range, which is extremely positive. This year, hats off to Vicki and her department. Our special ed ratings went up a fairly, I would call that a significant amount, and I think there's been a lot of work done on her and her team that causes that result to get higher than it's been in previous years. Again, looking at our parent ratings, and just in case folks were wondering, we had over 500 families respond, so I think this is a pretty representative result. If there's 2,400 kids, 500 families responded, I feel that's pretty good by survey standards. In fact, our survey company said it was a very good return rate. Again, all in the 90 ranges about their perceptions of how school is going for my child, how I enjoy working with the school staff, and perceptions of teachers are all in the 90+ range. Certainly a place that we can feel good about. So the surveys we will use to inform the work going forward. I mentioned school belonging. I think there's still work to be done on how kids feel about the school in a variety of ways, but I think for the most part, we can take these survey results as a positive affirmation, but yet some guiding light into how we make sure our kids are still feeling part of school, getting involved in activities, some of which we'll mention in a short time in this presentation. So now Mr. LePage.
All right, I'm going to try to not read off the slide and just let you read as we talk, but each elementary school does things slightly differently. They all have their own style and their own, well, in some respects, their own personality. But every elementary school does incredibly good things for kids when it comes to positive behavior intervention supports. That's across all schools. Second step curriculum, Dr. Brummel will talk about quickly. But the celebration of acts of kindness, the daily announcement of birthdays and little gifts and tokens for the students, goal setting and announcement of goal setting, goal sharing by the students. Go ahead, Kevin. This is a picture of at Tafalon. All the students read "There's Only One You" by Linda Kranz, and they decorated a rock, talking about a kind message, and they made this walkway of kindness. These are all proactive measures trying to instill those qualities. Go ahead, Kevin. This is just another slide with that's a student of the month at the bottom there, I believe, from Wheeler, but they have students of the month, weekly leaders of the pack, leaders of the different school values, so whether it's the pack or cares or roars, depending on which elementary school you're at, those pillars of character are celebrated among students. We have our DARE program in grade 5 that talks about decision making, how to treat other people. We have the student council safety patrol, so just so many things going on, book buddies with 5th graders and younger students, reading to them. This was a picture of leaders of the pack. You may see someone there, you know. That's over at Wheeler. Go ahead, Kevin. Every school is using behavioral data to set their state school building plan for the year, which becomes part of the district plan through our committee. Monthly town meetings talking about those core values in each school that are very similar, just with a different acronym. Use of different color systems to reinforce positive behavior, use of kind of cool down methods for taking deep breaths. You see some kind of yoga going on down there to reinforce being more grounded and kind of calming your anxieties. Mentor programs, reading partners, those are both led by Sue Bradley, who does an amazing job in so many ways. And then tier 2 instruction as needed for more intensive support of positive behaviors. Go ahead, Kevin. This is just an example of an assembly. This is at Linden. Of course, Lindy cares, and it's positive attitude strategy, talking students demonstrating to their peers along with the facilitator. Dr. Brown will talk about second step.
All right, so second step is one of our resources for grades pre-K to 5 social skills instruction. Each classroom throughout the district does about 20 lessons every year. It's a research-based, nationally recognized model that teaches kids how to interact with each other, how to give compliments, how to be involved in a conversation, how to ask if they could be part of a game. So we proactively teach lessons in that second step curriculum throughout students' elementary career. And it increases in complexity as they get in the upper grades. Next slide. Talking about MSP. MSP sort of was our hub for PBIS. When we started that years ago, it was something that started at middle school Plainville, and quite simply, it was because they needed it. This is before Mr. Guarino's time, but at that time, back in the mid-2000s, we had close to 2,000 office referrals per year, which is extraordinarily high. Kids were out of the classroom a lot. There was a high rate of bullying and fighting, and students, about 25% of the school population was receiving multiple referrals. So by anyone's standards, that's a very unacceptably high rate of office referrals. Through the years and with the help of Mr. Guarino and his team, that has become much different at the middle school. And this year, for example, or this past year, we only had 265 referrals, and that's pretty typical. We've Mr. Guarino over the years has done those bar graphs or line graphs that shows this precipitous drop of kids needing to go to the office at the middle school. And this year, it looks like it'll be about 270 office referrals for the whole year. And the kids that are receiving the multiple referrals is now down to about 5% of the population, which is more typical and more actually what the national standards look like. So we do a lot of positive, there is some, positive reinforcements with raffles and such, but besides that, and probably even more importantly, are some of the proactive things we do at the middle school. They have lessons on bullying and cyberbullying in their health classes, in tech ed in the library. The bystander to ally training has something we've done in previous years Some grant funding went away for that, but now it is back in. It's a program done by the Anti-Defamation League in which children are trained to, when they see something going wrong with their peers, to intervene and actually either intervene on the situation or report it to an adult. And it's an extensive training that ultimately is led by children. We are also going to look at and address every report of mean behavior received, which is something we've been doing all along. Our developmental guidance, a couple years back, our school counseling team revised their lessons, upgraded them and made them more modernized, and they're very meaningful, and they get at a lot of very key issues like relationships and how to respond to various social pressures. Looking in Theater is an outside group that comes in and they do skits on relevant topics that kids in the middle school age need to hear about, drug avoidance and other things of that sort. And our health curriculum also includes digital citizenship, relationships, and preventing teen dating violence. And now I'll turn it back over to Mr. LePage for the high school positive programs.
Thank you. It was my pleasure to be involved in these when I was a principal, and Mr. Medic and his team are doing a terrific job instilling a positive climate here and culture. So the PHS forum is the PBIS group meets to talk about similar things to the district-wide group. What's the need at the high school level? We had a focus here on bullying for a few years in many different ways through forum. Forum is a mentoring group. You meet about 20 kids with the homeroom teacher and another member of the faculty just about every month. And we were covering and discussing bullying so much that eventually the kids said, "Enough already. We know what bullying is. We're not going to do it. It's bad. I promise we won't do it. Just don't give us any more bullying lessons." But sometimes they forget those lessons, and it's good to re-implement. But this year was on cyberbullying and things of that nature, and that's a chance for you to talk with peers and with mentors you become familiar with over 4 years. You have the same mentor for 4 years. I'm not going to play it now for the sake of time, but you'll have access to this digital citizenship video that was made under the direction of Ms. Graham Douglas, Ms. Perez, and a bunch of, were you in that, Vicki? A group of technology, working with technology and working with students to create instructional videos that are going to be used in the school system. And that one's on digital citizenship and kind of the cyberbullying and being a bystander type of thing. There'll be more coming. So the Student Rocks Award is nominated by faculty twice a year, 2 students each time, celebrating really outstanding pillars of character. The whole faculty celebrates them at a faculty meeting, and their parents come and the media comes, and it's wonderful. And those kids are great examples of what we want students to act like. Spirit weeks, class competitions, even though it's competition, it's all in fun spirit, school spirit rallies, stress management groups, so many things going on. On the day, I think it was the morning after they slept on the roof for the hurricane relief, that was the morning I think they gave out the bleed blue shirts for school morale this year. And every student received one of those. We had motivational speakers as well talking about their lives, mistakes they made, Tony Collins and Chris Herron a couple of years ago. Go ahead, Kevin. Oh, all right. Community service, as I said, there are so many things that happen to instill a sense of, the values that we want our students to have in a positive way. The Senior Citizen Prom every year, I'm proud to be a part of that as a co-advisor. Interact Club, this room is filled with senior citizens dancing and the kids involved, and about 30 kids help out every year, and about 100 senior citizens come. It's our 6th year this year. Positive Kick program is Kids Influencing Kids. That's a pairing of an 11th grader with an incoming 8th grader. Again, Sue Bradley runs that program with Lynn Davis, Jerry Turkowitz help, and it's amazing. Student mentorships, Devil's Advocate, it's a senior freshman mentoring partnership. Then the ice cream socials for all the kids who have no discipline throughout the year, which leads up to Super Senior Award, this was the 8th year of that award, which is, we're really proud of in Plainville. It's a great celebration of students who go through all 4 years with no discipline record. This is just a couple pictures of Positive Kids Influencing Kids, and a speaker that came in on the left, and then just the kids with their certificates and the party that they had at the end of the year each year. Ms. Bradley always makes it special. This is just an example of some of the things that go on at the high school, and this is just a quick snapshot. And I remember this all too well when we had a group of 5 kids who didn't like another group of 5 or 6 kids, and they went back and forth, and it was almost impossible to decide where that started or how it was ever going to end. To the point of having all 3 administrators, police officers involved in mediations, and it still didn't work, and it went on, you know, so you just keep, it's really difficult, and it sounds like, well, you just put an end to it, and it's not always that easy, but we work really hard to, and to make the consequences significant enough that it does stop. But they've done, Mr. Manick and his team have done over 20 peer conflict mediations this year, some of that with a couple of kids, some of that with bigger groups, really trying to prevent it from going to the next level and resolving differences. And as was said earlier, the Go Guardian program has been very good for picking up on key terms or words of concern on our district technology and being able to act on those.
Mr. LePage, one thing that I would expect you'll see on our report for next year is the role of the SRO in preventing or helping to mediate some of the issues at the high school, because as we've described in the various presentations that Mr. Medic and I made, we anticipate that she will be very much a proactive member of the PHS staff. So more to come on that as her role gets more clearly defined. I think one of the most important things we do here in Plainville is run a robust mentor program. And the research is clear that when kids have a positive adult they can count on, that's another way of promoting a positive climate, school belonging. So I wanted to make sure we highlight our mentor program. Next slide. Where do we hope to go futuristically? Where do we see ourselves going to our continuous improvement model here? Continuing the Anti-Defamation League Bystander to Ally training in the fall of next year. I will be coordinating a district safety forum to not only introduce our new SRO, but to also talk about all the things that we do in the district to keep kids physically, socially, and emotionally safe. That'll include speakers on suicide prevention, how to deal with anxiety, which is a very prolific issue for our kids, and other aspects of mental health. We're going to be rewriting with Mr. LePage's team local school wellness policy. We're going to look at potentially doing a district-wide mental health screening so that we have, besides all of the efforts we make with our counselors, is it a wise idea to screen children just globally to kind of see if there's anyone that stands out? We have an ongoing partnership with the Plainville Coalition, co-chaired by our own Lynn Davis, and they promote a lot of these type of forums that they'll be collaborating, in fact, on the safety forum with me in the fall. We also hope on the next slide to this summer, Mr. LePage, Mr. Zinski, and I are going to a ruler training at the Yale Center for Social and Emotional Health, and it's another nationwide effort to get kids to be able to talk about how they're feeling each day and maybe curb some of the conflicts they get into because they're not feeling really great. So we're looking into that and seeing if that has applications for Plainville. I've seen the coordinator, Dr. Mark Brackett, speak several times, and I do think he has a lot to offer. Continuing our professional development efforts on mental health and suicide prevention, and we're actually, one of our school psychologists is developing some online modules for that. Increased use of innovative practices. We actually have some teachers that have been trained to use yoga in the classroom. Some of our school counselors have gotten extensive training in that, and they've trained others. And obviously continue our current practices, making sure they're done with uniformity and fidelity. How can our parents partner with our schools? Well, one example is Dr. Longo and contacting my office and bringing forward resources. We also would love a parent rep on our Safe School Climate Committee if anyone would be interested in that. Some other suggestions would be to limit screen time and oversee it, of course, because there is a lot to be weary of on the internet. Don't allow technology in the room for too long. Take it away at a reasonable hour. Attend our forums. They don't often get a ton of turnout, but I think there's a lot of good information that we offer. Encourage children to remove harmful apps, because there are a lot of those out there. And encourage children to notify us when or trusted staff or teacher to, if someone's bothering them. We read a statistic today that nearly 50% of peer conflicts or bullying concerns are not ever reported, or they're reported way far down the line when the child is already very distraught. And when reporting those incidents, be very specific so we can get to the heart of the matter. And talk to your children, be nosy. It's okay to be snoopy and oversee what they're doing, because they do a lot of stuff online that can be troublesome. And also with that parental relationship, knowing that you're kind of overseeing things does help us to keep them safe at the school level. And that concludes our report. I'd like to thank Mr. LePage for putting it together and wondered if anyone has any questions from the board.
Anybody have any questions? Just a couple observations. You had a management of the incidence of bullying. It seemed to decrease as the children went through the grades. The elementary seemed to be the highest, middle school, and then the lowest, the high school. So is that the trend?
It seems to be that way, but it could also be that kids are reporting it at the high school level out of embarrassment. Hard to know. I mean, that's what it looks like for our data, but we look at that with caution because we're not sure how much comes forward. We can tell you when it comes forward, we investigate it, but I don't know that everything comes forward from our kids.
Yeah, I want to say that I'm amazed how far you try to engage students, try to uncover some of these incidences or things that happen in their lives, and I know that a lot of children aren't bullied at home. It comes from the parents or the siblings. So for them, it's normal. So you wonder why? Why did it take so long? To them, that's just part of life. And they feel bad about themselves, but that's good you try to identify that. The teachers are so great here. They observe the kids. They know there's something off, and they engage the kids. They talk to the kids. They're very proactive, and you're doing a great job.
Thank you. I mean, another stat we looked at today, Mr. LePage and I, is most bullying incidences last 5 to 10 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times, teacher's back turns and something happens, which kids who are prone to that kind of behavior are pretty sophisticated about doing. So that's why training the allies to help us out and being partners with parents, all these things are crucial to make these efforts do what they're supposed to do. Because we work really hard at this, but we still have incidences of bullying, and some of them probably we don't see. So we just have to acknowledge that and try to put it out there that we need as much information as possible to meet the needs of our kids.
That's great. Thank you. Anybody else?
Thank you very much.
Can we get this presentation too?
Yes.
Absolutely. And you'll get the video too that we didn't show tonight.
I just want to say too, that this is like a massive amount of information that you just gave us. I realize that for purposes of time, you're trying to run through things quickly, but there's a massive amount of things that are taking place in schools every day, trying to help kids deal with things that take place within school, outside school, and just help them in general. And I do have to say, it frustrates me beyond belief that people will go and complain on a social media forum when they need to pick up the phone. I mean, and so this is really just a plea. You are not helping your child to go on social media and start saying that your child's having a problem. It's just not a positive thing to do. Pick up the phone, call somebody, talk to the principal, talk to the teacher, reach out and get help. Don't go there because it's not a good place to go.
And that's the irony. The parents are engaging in this bad behavior, and they're going to tell their kids, you need to behave better when they're acting badly. And as a parent myself, I catch myself, but I know in order for my son to grow up healthy, mentally, spiritually, I have to change me. I have to be a better person, be a better role model. But some of these parents, I don't know, they don't get it, I guess.
It's an emotional topic, and that may be reactive. You see someone that you care about deeply feeling pain, so you kind of lash out. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. It's something that they feel they need to do to kind of share with and get support maybe from peers. But I agree. It's if anyone calls me, and maybe I need to do a better job of making my name and my role in that position better known somehow, we can do that, and getting parents involved in committees too, because their input's important. So, yeah, definitely we can be more proactive if it's direct and specific.
I think that we should have the conversations about bits and pieces of this more frequently as well. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a very significant topic. The reason we do all this is because before a child's going to do anything, learn, survive, whatever, they need to feel safe. They need to have these kinds of services, and so that's why you do it. That's why the time is taken to do it, and so I think we need to talk about it a little bit more and maybe raise it up in our conversation.
Certainly, the safety forum will be our next communication outward, and that'll be sometime in September.
I just wanted to say two things. One is thank you for specifying the bullying instance, because I don't know that I've ever seen something black and white that said this is how many that we've had. So again, like Becky was saying on social media, you know, a lot of parents were saying that the schools don't recognize bullying. So I think that that's a positive step. I don't think we have children in school. They fight outside of school. They're going to fight in school. And I think to deny that is not doing anybody a service. So the fact that you acknowledge that, I appreciate it. And all of the efforts that we have, all the programs that we have at all the schools, is that available like on our website? Like if parents think we're not doing anything? Because that was the gist of what that big social media was, is, oh, we don't do anything about bullying or about teaching our kids the right way. But we have so many programs. Are they detailed out somewhere that, you know, they can see what's going on?
I think we'll probably do a better job of publicizing it, perhaps putting this PowerPoint on the website as a first step. I think they're talked about at the school level and the principals update parents, but globally, have we done enough? Maybe not.
I mean,
It's incumbent upon us as members of the Board of Education also to be supportive in this, and also to get the word out of what is being done. And I think this is part of our responsibility, that to be the resource other than Plainville Talks or for Facebook for people with issues.
I also do believe anybody that talks to me about it, I always ask them, did you talk to the principal of the school? Did you talk to the superintendent, the assistant superintendent? They have open door policies. Please feel free to talk to them. And a lot of these people don't even attempt even at the principal level to even try to deal with it. They just assume nobody's listening, nobody cares. And I don't know how you get parents to understand that that's not the case, but just
We'll continue to reiterate the message.
thank you.
I think also some of it goes back to ensuring that parents are aware of the types of consequences that are given to the students for, you know, engaging in inappropriate behavior or fighting with another student. I know a lot of that as a parent. I've seen some of it, and I've seen it on social media, and I've encouraged people to come and talk here as well. But they don't feel comfortable. They don't feel like they're being engaged by raising things to some of the principals. So I think that attitude needs to change. And maybe getting some of the board members to respond to some of these posts on social media and getting other parents to respond to some of these posts on social media is helpful to see that this is what you're doing, this is how you're engaging, these are the positive, you know, programs that you offer in the schools. But yes, there are consequences when the child continually does things to other children, and I don't think that that's understood across the board. And when parents ask what's being done, sometimes they get the response, well, we can't release that. We're not asking you to release what action you took against the student. We're asking for the actions that are taken when these other children continue to behave the same way that they've behaved towards our children, and when our children retaliate or push back against them. Yes, I understand there's consequences too, but I think outlining those consequences is very important.
I think the problem today is, thank you. People in general like to react, but they don't want to engage. For me, social media is very antisocial, and something like this would be better in an open forum, perhaps with parents to get together. I think they would show up. That would be great. Have as many as possible, discuss it face to face. You know, not anonymously.
Well, I think some of it on social media, it is addressed, but I think, like I said, you know, if you want a positive experience, you have to encourage a positive experience. And, you know, I know when you guys come around for elections to say, hey, vote for me, this is my platform for the Board of Education, we don't really see much of your faces except for when you're coming around for election. So your presence is important.
Right, I understand. understand, but we do have the open forum that they can come.
I understand that, and
It's just me, it's just, I understand, I probably would not go to a Board of Ed meeting too. I'd be a little nervous as a parent to stand up there and talk. But that's one of the ways they can. They can talk to Dr. Brahman, they talk to the principal, talk to the teacher, talk to one of the board members. There's a lot of different outlets that parents can connect with.
right.
But if we can expand that, that'd be great.
There are a lot of outlets, but there are also other parents saying the same thing. So that's important to recognize too. So you have to take it from both aspects or you don't get a solution.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that does conclude my report for this evening.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for the superintendent? All right, we'll move forward. All right, under our board subcommittee reports, Nate?
So, last report. In terms of academics, finals will begin on Thursday, June 14th and go until Tuesday, June 19th, with June 20th being the makeup exam day. Then final year grades will be finalized after all exams are completed, and end of the year report cards will be sent home. Class night was on Thursday, May 31st. It was a great time for the seniors to come together as a class to enjoy some pizza, sign yearbooks, and just relax, listen to some music. Class picnic was held the following day at Camp Chase, and it was a great day away from the classroom for the seniors, and the weather held up pretty nice. Senior prom was then the following day at the AquaTurf at 7 on June 2nd. It was a huge success with about 190 people in attendance for a class that only has about 150 people, so that was pretty impressive. I know for me as a class officer, we didn't even think that many people were going to show up. The senior sports banquet was held on Tuesday, June 5th, and it was a great night for the athletes who received awards and scholarships for their hard work over the past 4 years. The phys ed teachers brought a multitude of students canoeing on the Farmington River last Friday. I was grateful that I did not flip this year. The Night of Excellence is this Thursday, June 14th in the high school auditorium. And on behalf of the senior class, we encourage all of you to come and support. Seniors are looking forward to the senior walk on the morning of June 20th at 9:15, taking a look back at where their education first began before returning to the high school for graduation that night at 7. Athletics have come to an end for the school year. The football team held their blue versus white game this past Sunday, right after the Nico Kudavides football clinic. The baseball team returned to the postseason this year and knocked off the 4-seed Plainville before falling in the second round to East Catholic. There were multiple track athletes who made the state open meet, and athletes in a variety of sports made all conference this spring. I just wanted to add too, I know Ms. LePage was half joking about the digital citizenship forums, but I can tell you from personal experience, we always kind of joke among the students like, oh, forum day, we must be talking about digital climate or bullying, and it's pretty much every single time. We know it's coming, and we know that we're definitely being taught about those in forum. And then lastly, I would like to thank the board for having me these past 2 years and allowing me to report on high school activities. I would like to welcome Maddie Run, rising senior, and Alex Chambrello, a rising junior, who will be the student liaisons for the 2018-2019 school year. I give them a lot of credit for staying engaged for this pretty long meeting. They'll get shorter, don't worry. And just thank you again for anything. Any questions? Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, if our students would like to leave to go home and study, we won't feel bad, we promise. Finals are just around the corner. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
That goes for you too, Nate.
Okay.
All right. We don't have any facilities, no policy. Finance, Mrs. Peterson?
I was going to turn it over to Lieutenant Brown.
Yes, and just to backpedal a little bit, we didn't have a facilities meeting, but the Capital Building Project Committee meeting has been ongoing, and as Chairwoman Puglisi mentioned earlier, the bids came in higher than expected for the high school paving project. However, there may be a reason for that. There might have been something put in the bid package that elevated the cost. there was some sort of provision for an extra long warranty that really isn't necessarily part of that, so they're going out to bid again, and we're hoping that that will go down in price so that we can still complete the project this summer, because we've sort of made all of our plans around that. Mr. Medic and his team have been rearranging things at the high school so that we can make that happen. Relative to the Finance Subcommittee, we had a meeting before the Board of Ed tonight, and it was a very positive report. Thanks to the efforts of our administration, Mr. Adlerstein, and all the belt tightening we did this year in response to state budget cuts, we are looking to end the year positively. We fully expect to send back $220,000 to the town council, as was promised during our collaborative process when we were hit with a rather devastating $1.9 million ECS cut. And we want to express our gratitude again for the collaborative efforts of both the town and the board to weather that storm. And believe it or not, we're hoping to actually send back more than the 220. So that exact process remains to be seen as the final dollars kind of became known, but the board has heard some of the options, and we will update the board as soon as the final tallies come in from the end of the year budget.
Thank you. Do you have anything for TURF?
We have not had a TURF meeting, but Ben Gedeman did reach out to me recently indicating that we've had some signage sales this year. It was a little delayed because of the repair work being done on the track, but he expects to send the TURF fund a little over $2,000 this year, and he believes it'll be even better next year.
Oh, great, thank you. All right, the high school report, Mr. White?
Yes, the PAC met on May 9th, just before our May board meeting, so there's nothing new to report, except that volunteers are really needed for the graduation party on the 20th. So if anybody has a burning desire to work in the casino, either from 9 to 1 or 12 to 3, something like that, it is a lot of fun. So I encourage people to join in on that. If anybody on the board would like to volunteer, I do have the contact information that I'll share with you.
Okay, thank you. Top one?
Not much.
Oh, sorry.
Not much to report. They're just winding down for the school year.
Okay, London, Mrs. Hardy's not here. Middle school, Crystal.
Yeah, I think on May, we met on May 8th. Pretty much we're winding down, but we have our 8th grade dance on just our big end of the year thing. We're having that on Tuesday, June 19th, right, that's Tuesday. And so they'll have a little time to like mingle with their friends and some parents and take photos. Then they'll have a dance with some raffles, and we got the photo booth, so it'll be a lot of fun. And we also have a Sweet Frog fundraiser. We have vouchers, and if you go on the last day of school, Wednesday the 20th, I think it's from 2 to 7 or something like that. Something like that. I think it starts at 2. And so go enjoy Sweet Frog, and the middle school will get some money.
All right, thank you. And Wheeler, I don't believe they had a meeting in May, and they're done for the year, so they'll resume their meetings in September. All right, Career Council, Mrs. Taro?
I was not able to attend the meeting.
Okay. Chairperson's report. I only have one thing, so I'm running kind of long. I just want to thank all the PHS high school students that volunteered at Wings and Wheels on Saturday, because we never seem to have enough, so we really do appreciate that. And I want to give an extra shout out to Dr. Brummett and all of her Rotary friends who came and sold water for us on a very warm day. She was a trooper. She sat there all day long selling water to everybody that needed it. And I also understand that you ended up giving out a car trophy.
Apparently I did. Never got my Mustang, but I awarded someone a Mustang award the other day. So vicarious Mustang on my part.
No, so thank you very much for that.
I believe I did it for her.
Oh. Okay, so, all right, we have no unfinished business. Under new business, board open forum. Does anyone have anything they'd like to announce or say?
Nobody has anything to say?
No?
I wanted to wish everyone a happy summer.
Okay, we'll let you do it for all of us. Go ahead.
There you go. Listen, be safe, be happy.
I would like to to thank Mr. LePage, though. We did have our first wellness committee meeting, and it is a good group of folks and a lot of issues that are discussed, and I think it's going to be a very positive committee that's going to, get at some of the issues that we wanted to deal with, whether it's budgetary things that we had to make changes in wellness, and I think there's just a lot of aspects to it that are going to be really beneficial. So that was a good meeting. Mr. White and I attended the legislative update. Didn't you say you were going to talk about it? I thought you said you were going to update. We attended the CAVE legislative update, and I don't remember that much about it because Foster was going to say something.
And I thought you were going to. Well, we have had some opinions to communicate. I think one of the more significant things we did talk about very briefly in the Finance Committee meeting was that the budget this year has enactment in it that will not allow the governor to cut funds. However, there was also an additional bill that was passed that would have made this go from budget year to budget year, and that was passed by the legislature, but was vetoed by the governor, and I don't think that is probably going to have the veto will be overridden. So we'll have that safety net this year, and hopefully the legislature will change and do that. There are other bits of legislation that were passed that I think are kind of favorable. The addition to teaching the Holocaust in the social studies program is now going to be part of the curriculum. And I apologize for not bringing my notes with me.
I don't remember.
But it was a very good informative session. In fact, I did send a listing of those. I think I did send it to Dr. Cronin. So if anybody's interested, and will forgive my mental breakdown for getting to do that tonight.
We also attended, Mr. White and I volunteered at Family Fest, which was held on May 19th. It's a really nice function for families and small children. There's a lot of information there. It's a good community event. I'd like to thank the PHS woodworking crew. They made a set of Adirondack chairs for that as well as for Relay for Life. So those guys really helped us out. We also had a Relay for Life, a group of volunteers from the football team that kind of swooped in there on Sunday morning and cleaned everything up and were really awesome. So they wanted me to express my thanks to them. And also all the retirees that are leaving this year. It's a big group of folks. I told Mr. Felt that, I don't hold it against him. I said, but I had a daughter that was in your class, and she wouldn't sleep in her bed for a week. And he said, what happened? I go, it was a thing on bed bugs that you guys talked about. So for a week, my kid wouldn't sleep in her bed, but now she's 27, she's back in her bed. So. But you got to kick out of that. So it is, I do feel really old seeing all these folks going, but it was a lot of institutional knowledge that we have taken out of the building. So congratulations to all of them. Now I'm done.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. All right, so we'll move on to special ed. Sam?
So you have the report on special education tuition costs quarterly. This is my last report for the year. Right now, it's looking on budget. If anything, a little favorable. You think this close to the end of the year, we'd know more exactly, but we still have over $200,000 of special education tuition costs to pay and another $200,000 to receive. So there's still a lot of flux, but right now it's looking favorable. We do know our excess cost grant, which is part of this tuition line, came in lower than what we had budgeted, but it's offset by our tuition costs also being lower. I can go on, but I bet you don't want me to.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, so we just need a motion for the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, a motion and second. All those in favor? Any opposed? Thank you.
And motion to enter into executive executive session.
And the assistant superintendent.
And the assistant superintendent.
Second.
All right, so we have a first and second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, and we will not be coming out to vote on anything, so thank you very much, and have a good evening.